Hey, Crawlspacers, welcome to our ASM review show. Let's introduce the panel. We've got Neil. What's going on, Neil?
None of this was worth it.
None of it was. That's the
You'll
show.
notice my name is Beyond Saving.
Beyond
there.
Man, we were gonna dive into it about if Beyond was indeed worth it or not. Which
It was not.
It was not. Yes, very true. We are gonna have the other panelists come in just a second. I just heard a button, a beep. There is JR. The fans have demanded your return, JR.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun watching JR wing it.
Yeah.
I did want to try to binge the other issues, but I didn't have time.
It's like, okay. Well, what is it? 18, 20 issues you'd have to read in 2 days or 1 day?
Well, I mean, considering I got the notices like last night, and I wake up this morning and it's like, hey, JR, I sent you an IM. And I'm thinking, what's an IM? I mean, is he misspelling I'm without the apostrophe or something like that? And then just I had the normal stuff today. But I was able to read.
You did read 93.
I did read
every comic is someone's first, and this is JR's first Beyond comic. We've also got Mike. What's going on, Mike? Welcome back.
JR was here for like the first 2 issues.
Well, here's the thing. I think this is a very
your microphone
occasion.
settings. Can't hear you.
Mike, your mic isn't plugged in.
Mike, your mic.
Okay, 1 second. Give me a minute.
Yep. Matt says no one wings things like JR. Gang, this will be fun.
How about that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are, Mike. There you are.
Yep. Okay. I was about to say that this is a very sad occasion, a very somber occasion. Hence, I mean, I think we should take a moment of silence as I bring out my sad sack of flour to commemorate the passing of Ben Reilly.
Oh no! 5 years later, the joke is still goddamn going.
Yeah, great value, all-purpose flour. Yeah. He didn't dissolve into flour. He dissolved into goo.
He might as well have. He might as well have because
dang.
Are we allowed to talk about spoilers like at this point, or
we'll get to him.
He just did. I love how he just like guess I'll die and just fell into the puddle.
Yeah.
Bye.
Peace out. Yeah. Issue 1's next. Gotta die. Anyway, we will get there. We've got some issues to hit before that last wrap up. And let me see who's got. Mike, you have the first issue. Let me get the cover up on the screen real quick.
Okay.
I gotta go through Kindle and good grief, all my digital codes. There we go. There's the first.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, Comixology is so bad. My goodness.
It's a little yeah. Okay.
It's gotten.
I can
better.
zoom a little bit.
It's gone from a 0 out of 10 to like a 0.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
we're not making much progress.
So we're doing ASM 91, which is what's the legacy? It's now blocked me. 892. Okay.
892.
They had it right there, Brad. Can you not read?
I could not because the pop-up blocked it and I couldn't see it. See?
Well, I don't blame Brad I don't blame Brad for kind of forgetting the issue number of this issue, because then again, this was kind of one of those issues where, kind of
it's all just bleeding together.
Yeah. And although this issue apparently has some of, like, according to one review, some realistic sounding dialogue that did not sound like comic book dialogue. We'll get to that in a minute.
By the way, Kelly will join us. She's having internet problems. She just messaged me.
I don't know what that was. I'm so sorry.
So, all right, take me through it, Mike. What happens? What's behind the green door?
Yes, apparently. So they go to, I guess I believe it's Staten Island. Both Peter and Ben, they go there. But Ben's kind of having a little bit of an existential crisis at the moment. He's feeling a bit off his game. He's kind of, shooting blanks, as it were.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
God bless.
Yeah. And he's also kind of like, he's not really sure what his left. He can't tell for the difference between his left and his right. There's even one moment where it gets so bad that he begins vomiting or whatever it is at some point, for reasons. Also, while they're at this facility, they also stumble upon all the different nefarious experiments that that Beyond has been making, like the snowman and the chicken boxer and
Here you go.
whatever the heck is going on with
Speaking
the
of-
dude with the chainsaw. And
What the heck? What the heck?
At least
Yeah.
it feels like something that Beyond Corporation would do instead of just generic company.
Right. Yeah. It's just random stuff like Squid Head guy with wearing looks like trainer pants and and whatever the
Wait a minute,
shark.
we got a chicken, we got a snowman, we got a bear.
There's
We
Jeff
got
the
a- we
Land
got-
Shark.
We got the flower man over here, a couple like flower guys.
Flower
yeah,
Flower Spider-Man.
Oh,
Flower
flower. Oh
spider.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
but there's just a few of these guys. Well, anyway, Spider-Man and Ben and Peter make quick kind of web them up, quick work of them, sort of. But then they get attacked by what look like cute little cat weasel things, like go meat.
You know,
Killed
because
27 children.
Spider-Man took on Firelord, but he can't take on these guys.
Nope.
I mean, come on.
They're a bunch of rabid looking, like, I don't know, like
He couldn't take on Vermin's. He couldn't take on all the Vermin clones, so he's
Right,
in his wheelhouse.
Instead of
Yeah.
oh crap, he just yells Ben, which means
Ben,
the same thing.
come and help me with take care of these pests or something.
Oh God.
Anyway, we go back to the Beyond headquarters where we see what the reject from the Matrix Resurrections is doing, also known as Maxine Danger.
Who is this dude who looks really weird?
Corporate stooge number 15
Good
or
God.
something at this point.
That's
yeah, so
rough.
he's basically just telling
Like the ears.
he's basically just saying, reporting some bad news about how there's a breach at the Staten Island location, and Maxine's like, oh well, that's fine. We got the recovery team over there and stuff like that. By the way, we do know the guy's name is Fletcher because she says his name is Fletcher, and then we'll never see Fletcher again because he
Like
basically
Smithers.
Good.
yeah, but because she basically then says ominously, if we have to open Door Z, then it's a whole new ball game. So we're pay attention, folks, because Door Z is very, very important. Okay, I mean, it's the Chekhov's gun in this issue, as it were. And meanwhile, back at Staten Island, Ben is still having this existential crisis and looking at his mask and seeing how it looks like a big, giant, gaping hole. I won't say what it is because spoilers. Meanwhile, and while Spider-Man is being chewed up by these lemur cat things,
Jeez,
that he's not really having problems with, and then finally Ben like snaps out of it and webs these things up and everything, and so it's like, and so they keep swinging off again, and then all of a sudden a car comes flying, crashing through the window.
yeah.
And it's with Kelly Thompson's with the characters that Kelly Thompson's would be rather writing about, the Daughters of the Dragon, Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, who just come in there and just start, taking it basically, at first they kind of like, start like what's going on here and like this, and so, and then Spider, like basically telling him like, Colleen, Misty Knight kind of like initially it's like, okay, what's going on here? What's the real story behind this? And Spider-Man points out, it's like, well, you kind of put a hole in the ceiling, so all these things are going to escape. So we got to kind of stop all these things happening. So cue the next few panels of them basically fighting chainsaw guy, looks like a dinosaur thing, chicken boxer, snowman.
Let's take a look at the chainsaw dude, the dinosaur man.
Chicken boxer.
That was kind of a cool angle. I like that shot.
Oh yeah,
was
especially with
kinda
the
neat.
some of the the art's kind of they're pretty neat. And then we also get an example of the riveting, realistic dialogue in here. One of my favorite lines of the whole thing,
Which one?
where Colleen Wing goes, "Is it me or do these flower things smell like farts?"
Oh,
then-
where's that
And
part?
Misty Knight goes,
Yeah.
"It's not you." And then Colleen Wing says, "Diabolical. I'd rather fight almost anything than farts."
Which is
I gotta say, Mike, we were excited for Kelly Thompson, but
I know.
I think we made a mistake hedging our bets.
We definitely did.
well, I wouldn't blame her so much as she was thrown
would.
into this. How much input does she have? Or
Okay,
the editor,
yeah.
the editor
So-
says, "Hey, this is where it's going. Try to
According
try
to
to do
her,
something with it.
according to her, she's the one who did most of the Ben and Janine stuff. But if that's the case, I wouldn't take credit for this issue because Janine's barely in the issue.
Issue, right?
Wow.
Anyway, while these guys are fighting, yeah, what's that?
The Hornacek says JR is listeing to this recap
Recap.
thinking, quote, I'm not
sorry,
sorry I didn't read this.
Actually, I'm sorry, I am. I could have had fun with it. Oh my god,
right?
farts.
This issue
There we
does
go.
smell like farts. I'll give you
Yes,
that,
it
Kelly
does.
Thompson.
Meanwhile,
Oof.
while our heroes are actually fighting these guys, Ben's like, "Oh, I've got a better idea," and he's standing next to the infamous Door Z. Okay.
Door Z.
And speaking of Janine, she's in some hotel, trying to get Ben on her phone, and he's not responding. And so finally she goes, well, fine. I am no damn damsel. I'm going to go look for him myself. And so she just kind of gets on, says off she goes.
I love the abrupt art change, by the way, to
Yes.
Fran Golan.
Yep. Very much so. And
Thanks, Sarah.
meanwhile, speaking of abrupt changes, we go back to Staten Island where Ben is looking through the database and he's like, and apparently as he's trying to do his hacking skills, he trips an alarm and up comes the first of many holograms that Maxine Danger will employ out for the rest of these issues. As
Real
she's
quick,
basically saying,
I've been reading Spider-Man for 40 years. I've never seen him try to ride a chicken. What is that? What is going on there?
You got me, man. I mean, it's not even the chicken. It's not even the chicken cow.
It looks like an
or
emu.
anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
I mean,
Oh,
at this point, you're like, oh,
Jesus.
hey, whatever.
Okay.
Right.
The weird
The
thing is,
greatest comic writing team ever assembled.
Oh,
Here-
that was in
here-
Lowe's press release, wasn't it?
here's the thing: is that like in theory, this should be what Beyond Corporation is best at,
Yeah.
but I don't care because the
No.
story's awful.
Awful.
If this is their best, I hate to see them at their worst. Let's just put it that
Hate
way.
to see you leave. Love to watch you go.
Anyway, and while Ben is like freaking out over Maxine Danger's hologram, basically, and Maxine's like, hey, Ben, it's not too late. We can work this out. We can come back and everything like this. And Ben's like, no, this is straight up villain, that you're doing. He says, oh, well, don't worry. We can clean this out. He says, and he goes, well, what if we don't? And she goes, well, we can always open Door Z. And then he goes, you know what? Fine. And he opens Door Z.
And what's behind? Let's make a deal. What's behind door number Z?
I'm sure Mike's going to
Boom.
point it out, but like Maxine, for whatever reason, freaks out that Ben opened Door Z,
Exactly.
even though she threatened to do it just 2 seconds ago.
Exactly. Now you kind of wonder why. I'm thinking, does anyone know what her character is at this point? She's like, oh my gosh, why would you do this? And Ben Reilly basically says, because I'm coming for you. I'm going to come. He says, I don't care about you. I'm just going to come down, knocking my door and everything like this.
Hey,
and
Kelly.
I want answers. And basically threatening a hologram, even though the hologram's rock. Why would she feel the least bit threatened? But oh well.
Oh yeah, here's the part you're talking about with Maxine threatening Ben.
Yeah,
Talk about this lizard Morbius.
Oh yes, because
It's King K rule.
because that, ladies and gentlemen, is what comes
behind
out of Door Z.
Yep.
Just in time for the Morbius movie, because it's not just the lizard, it's the Morbius lizard. It's basically vampire lizard, basically.
It made me think of a recycled 2000 video game where Doc Ock and Carnage became one.
Yeah, Monster.
Pretty much. Although I'm sure we'll get into the next issue. There's more going on here than what you think. But there's not a whole lot.
Green Goblin and Carnage came together.
Oh, and by the way, I should also add that Ben basically just left everybody there. He just like, nope, sorry, I gotta leave.
Yeah.
I gotta go get my revenge.
Yeah.
You guys can take care of whatever this is, because that's basically my distraction. And you guys, good best of luck. And
Does it make you care for the Ben character at all? That's who's the star of this book?
I don't know if
no.
I've ever cared for him.
Basically,
Absolutely
whatever kind of sympathy you had for him, just kind of like, oh, it just pretty much died like it
We
did
don't
with
care.
Clone Conspiracy, because he's basically kind of go back to that. So yeah, my final grade for this is probably is a C- generous?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
I give it.
yeah,
I'd give it a
I
D.
think it's about a D+ then, probably.
D plus out of Mike, Neil,
Yeah.
I'd give it a D.
Kelly.
Yeah, a D.
JR has not read it. Would you pick it up, JR, after hearing that
Do it.
there's farts in it?
Well, it sounds like the farts are actually the best part.
He's got plenty.
Yeah.
He's already got plenty of those. He'll be fine. He doesn't need to pick this up.
I will give it a D-. Awful. Just
Yeah.
straight up awful.
In fairness, this is, I think, the first part of this arc where we've all had like the same letter range of grades.
Yeah.
This was just
Awful.
I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, this was filler." Well, not really, because this is supposed to be Ben's pivotal moment, but it just like the flower farts. It's went up like that. It's one of these things where, and also they were basically teasing this whole thing with Door Z, like what's behind Door Z, and if this was the best they could come up with, even though yes, it ties back to earlier issues. I mean, was anyone really thinking about?
So let's do pros, Mike. What are the pros? Was the fart gag a pro?
Not. Yeah.
I think Brad wants it to be one.
I mean,
though.
it was.
I know I don't.
I mean, Kelly tried. I mean, I guess the only decent thing right now. I mean, like I said, I was going to be facetious about how Kelly Thompson definitely wants to write Daughters of the Dragon, because they're kind of the most better realized characters in this thing.
Yeah,
in a way.
I really did. It's a con for me. The art is a con. It makes me think of Abrams' Spider-Man.
Because it's the same artist. That's how this works.
Same vibe,
yeah, that's
same
what's
art.
surprising. It's
However, the shot through the snowman was kind of a cool visual.
Right.
That was kind of neat.
I
That
mean,
was
there's
the only
parts
pro.
of this. There's parts of this, like when you look at the artwork. I mean, there are certain times where it does look dynamic and everything, but there's some arts where they're just like, I think what's with the Sarah Pacelli is just like, oh, whatever, kind of like it's almost like that's most. I mean, because normally she kind of like does better work than this. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some parts of it that look great. I mean, but
Kelly Thompson does Black Widow, right?
Yes.
That's the Kelly Thompson I thought was bringing the game to the table,
like,
and I really don't blame her. I like Black Widow. I don't think she had much choice of what she had to write.
Right. Oh yeah,
I mean, this story was editorial mandated. I would think.
And then you
like
can can definitely feel that with this thing, because
it reads like Amazing 75.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't sound like Spencer's voice.
No,
I don't remember what the podcast was, but I know Zeb Wells went on a podcast once and said that he wanted to do the story with Peter first, but then Nick Lowe told him do it with Ben Reilly, which I think is telling about how like into it the writing team was.
How would you do this story with Peter?
Good question. I'm glad Zeb Wells didn't answer it.
and also Peter wouldn't be this big of an idiot to go with the Beyond Corporation anyway.
Exactly.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
Any other pros?
Everyone, I actually kind of liked the backup artist, Fran Gallen. I'm gonna bring up Pacelli as a con, but it kind of alarms me that Pacelli had like 5 months since her last issues, which I think 78 and 79, the Morbius issues, and she couldn't even finish a full issue. That kind of worried me. I'm glad that Fran Gallen at least picked up the steam at the end.
Anime Hunter says in chat that they kind of spoiled Who's Behind the Green Door with the cover of ASM 92.
Well, actually, they didn't release that cover first. They released a variant of just Misty and Colleen with Ben.
Yeah,
and they released it after the Door Z reveal.
Right.
So we got a pro of Neil with the backup artist. Mike, what was your pro again?
I think it was just mainly the I did like the entrance of Misty and Colleen, even though it was kind of cheesy. With the driving through with the car thing like that.
Kelly, any pros out of you? Did you like anything in this book?
I mean,
yeah,
I did. I prefer, like, I really enjoy Colleen and Misty, but the thing is like they need their own book. They don't need to be in this one.
Exactly.
So McKay did one of them back in 2018. No one read it because it was on.
But I want it written by Kelly Thompson, because that seems to be where she wants to write.
I'm wondering if Jed McKay ghost wrote them because he's the one that cares about them.
It seems like
Mike said, they're the better realized part of this book.
It seems like they can't sell that book without putting Amazing Spider-Man on the cover.
Right.
No, I mean, it's like Iron Fist. You can't really sell Iron Fist without.
Yeah.
Without
other
Luke,
characters.
Before we
Without-
get to cons, which I find are probably many, Hornacek has a comment for JR. In a year, we need JR to do a series of Spider History episodes where he covers the entire Beyond story.
Why torture him like that? That's rude.
That
Well,
may
to
be his
be
last
fair, he
Spider
tor-
History.
he
The
tor-
man can't take much more.
To be fair, he did torture Brad in the news segment, so it kind of has to be chromatic.
I wasn't torturing Brad.
No.
I was just explaining the utter futility of his story choices. You know?
Mhm.
I don't think we've done a Spider News in 2022, so I haven't heard
That's
for
because-
several. Oh,
Yeah,
let
because
me
you
at
had to go
least
to
get the sentence
2021
out,
to get
JR,
it.
before I.
He turned the flashlight on and off into the old man's cave. It's like, what do you want? We're doing Spider News. Get out here, old man.
Get out of here. Ryan Reed agrees with Kelly. He wants a Thompson Daughters of the Dragon.
Mhm.
Yeah, highly recommend Thompson's Black Widow.
Well, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend
and
Captain
she's-
Marvel
and
as
again-
much. But sorry.
And again, we both been saying she's a much better writer than this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like, I think Neil, you kind of, I mean, and I think we all kind of nailed the nail on the head. It's just, I mean, I guess we're going to segue into cons things. This just feels like, oh, we just got to get through the motions here to try to get to the final issue.
There you go, Kelly. Let's
Yeah.
point to what Matt says. When Editorial takes over the writing,
the writing.
things are going to be crap. Very
Yep.
true, Matt. I agree
Mhm.
100%. Mike, cons that we haven't mentioned yet.
Oh gosh,
Editorial
I mean,
writing.
Yeah, and also Ben's basically deciding, oh, I'm going path to evil.
So-
let's just say it.
Yes. So
and
Ben left Mary Jane to go die
Yeah,
at the Goblin Queen. Now Ben left Peter to go die with whatever these furry things are.
right. Well, no,
We'll call him cute vermin.
it's basically he left him like he basically says, "Oh, I'm just going to leave you to fight this thing, like the Morbius lizard thing." That was the big.
Oh,
That
he
was
left them for the lizard.
Yeah, but even that was like, oh god, that was your big threat of Dorsey. Which, by the way, speaking of which, and I know we mentioned the recap, and I know Neil said the same thing. It's like I mentioned this before. I do not get the Maxine's characterization is all over the place. They either want her to be like this evil mastermind on the level of Lex Luthor, or they want her to be this suddenly, oh, I'm not really prepared. It's like, or she wants to be like, what's her face from Game of Thrones?
Daenerys.
No, not Daenerys. The other one
Cersei.
was Cersei Lannister. Yeah, she's
Okay.
either Cersei Lannister or female Lex Luthor. They can't decide which one is which.
Well,
They want to be a Greg Wiseman villain. That's the takeaway. They want to be a Greg
Yeah,
Wiseman villain.
let's be fair here. I mean,
Yeah.
we're wrapping this up. And
Mhm.
so, I was trying to like hold my tongue on some things, but let's just be completely fair. The
Mhm.
issue on why this issue doesn't work and why the rest of them don't work is because
Yep.
at no point in time in this story was Maxine a fully realized character.
Yes.
Ben is
Yes.
like all over the place.
Yes.
Mhm.
He's completely written just by the whims of these different writers and how they
Yes.
assume he is. And they could have used that in a better situation with the memory wipes, but they didn't. Instead, they were just kind of pulling everything out of their butts because I don't think that anybody was talking to each other. And they were
Mhm.
being told by Editorial, oh, well, this finished in this issue, so you got to write this continuation. And it's almost like a game of telephone.
Mhm.
But instead, they've completely, once again, ruined the possibility of any kind of redemption for Ben Reilly.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And
We know that was intentional now.
well, yeah, now it's
Yeah.
intentional.
We'll
But the
get
thing
that
is,
with the letters
this
page
is-
at the end,
Yeah.
but yes.
This
Yeah,
whole thing is just completely, it's like taped together. Like,
Mhm.
Yes.
it's
And
not great.
I would love to know if this story was put together because Spencer left early. Did they have to just say, hey, what do we got on the buffet? Let's make a dinner. What do we
Yeah,
got
I
in the
think-
cupboard?
I think there's a
What-
lot
the
of that,
leftovers. What can we do for a story to fill it out till we can get a regular writer in here?
I think there's a lot of that going on here.
I
mean,
think
even though
I think this was Wells's test drive. Like they were like,
Mhm.
okay, we want you to be the next ASM dude.
And
Put
he
together
passed.
a pitch for us.
He passed with this audition.
Well,
this
he
interview.
passed. Well, no, he passed, but it was with Nick Lowe adding in like 50 asterisks to his original pitch.
If this was a job interview, he wouldn't get the job if us Spider fans were
But
hiring.
going
Wait a minute,
back
this
to
was meticulously planned. Listen here.
Oh, all right, get it,
Wait a
JR,
minute,
get it.
in issue 75, during
Okay.
this Nick Lowe says these 5 writers and the incredible Spider editorial team got into a Zoom room back in December 2020 to map out this story that is finally in your hands. We lucky editors watch these incredible writers plot out 18 issues, and later we realized we needed one more. Maybe this was the one more.
No, I
wish
the craziest Spider story ever. And then we unlucky editors had to wrestle with bringing an art team in to live up to the story. So it says right here, they got into a Zoom room and they plotted out the whole thing. And now,
if Nick Lowe said it, it must be true.
Well, here's the thing. That explains a lot, because if anybody has ever been on a conference with a Zoom room trying to get any kind of work done, you know how bad it gets.
All right, Spider-Man swings into New York. Neil, take it.
So okay, going back to Maxine and kind of elaborate. I want to elaborate a bit more on what each writer wanted her to be, because I think Thompson is trying to do like a best of both worlds with this. Ziegler, Wells, and McKay, I think, wanted her to be like kind of a Greg Weisman villain. As I said earlier, she wants to be Xanatos, where like she's in control of everything, and even when she loses, she somehow, against all odds, has a solution. But then what's the other writer? Gleason. Gleason didn't even. No, it was they contradicted themselves, because Gleason never touched Maxine. But at the same time, they wanted to be like this corporate stooge who has like a veneer of control, but messes everything up at the last minute. And then her only weapon is just girl bossing Ben into doing what she wants.
Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss.
Yeah. I damn it! I was gonna use that in my 92.bay. I'll use it anyways. We'll go with it.
Yeah.
Hornacek says that JR is secretly.
Is JR Nick Lowe all this time?
I guess so. Mary has a comment that says that Nick Lowe love letter was one of the worst parts of this whole Beyond. Wanted to character assassinate Ben Reilly and give more credit to Zeb Wells for this garbage than Spencer in issue 74. Very true, Mary. I think so. I agree. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, this is. I mean, again, I kind of think it was Spencer. It was more like, okay, you can they kind of like had to quickly shuffle something together because when he was leaving, this was more like, okay, again, they quickly shuffled this all together, except it took longer. So I think this was definitely more of a collaboration between Lowe and Wells.
For those that have been reading for a long time, which I think is most of us here, back in the 80s, probably up to the 90s. Long. Well, not that long, but in the 80s, actually the 70s and 80s, the editors used to have backup stories. If the book was running late or something, the trains weren't on the tracks, the editor could pull out an issue or two and get the book out on time on this month. This feels like a story that's been in the drawer for a few months, and they pulled it out. Does it seem similar to you guys?
I think it has the tapings of one. The main issue, and I'm gonna bring this up later when we do like a kind of like the overall story. Right. Is that excuse me. Is that you could have just replaced Beyond with any generic Marvel corporation, like the BlackRock one from Transformers. You could have had the exact same results.
Yes. Roxxon you could have done.
Yeah,
Alchemax you could have done, which would have made more sense.
You could have Alchemax, but like for whatever reason they chose like Beyond, the most abstract and I guess hidden of the kind of multiversal corporations, and they did nothing with it.
Hornacek says that they wouldn't give us any letter pages during Beyond, but gave us the message from the editor page. I'd much rather have an extra page of story. I would have liked a letter pages that was filled with our similar comments of how this is absolute crap. But they won't put that.
I would have liked Jed McKay to take over, but I don't always get what I want, Brad. So you have to live with it.
I was going to say McKay's issue of Black Cat doing the physical therapy with Pete and Captain America. That was the only one I liked this whole.
Did you not like the MJ Black Cat one?
Yeah, I take that back because McKay wrote that. I apologize. I guess I
last one hit the
only two.
I like the Daughter of the Dragon one too.
Was
but that's not,
I didn't.
Well, that's okay.
Any other cons haven't been mentioned?
Pacelli definitely didn't carry her weight this issue.
No,
I agree. I agree. All right, I think Kelly has this next one, right?
I think I do.
All right, you've got what are we gonna call this guy? What would be a good name for Morbius Lizard?
King K. Rule.
More lizard?
How about Lorbius? Lorbius.
Look, I'm just saying. If this is like a barrel of monkeys of writers, then we should fit the Donkey Kong theme with King K. Rule.
I mean, he's Count Lizard.
Count Lizard. I like that one.
King Komodo.
Count Lizard. There you go. All right.
And does
Take
he
me
have
through this
dragon
one,
wings on there?
Those are Morbius wings.
Morbius wings?
They're Morbius wings, but for some reason in this cover they look far bigger than they are in the interior.
He looks like a pale version of Draco the Dragon Man.
Lesbius.
Lesbius.
I like that one.
Lesbius. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like an erotica from the 70s.
Yeah, I was about to say, it sounds like a bunch. What I would think Maxine Danger was a lesbian, but anyway.
Wow.
Oh man.
See, I was gonna go with
JR really reached for that
sounds
one.
like like
Anime says Lorbius. There you go. Lorbius. All right. Feel free, chat. Give us names what this character is, because I don't think they name him in the book, do they?
No, they just call him the Lizard. Oh, they call him Dr. Connors, even though he's not Dr. Connors right now.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Go ahead, Kelly.
So anyway, so the breakdown is Peter, Colleen, and Misty are cleaning up Ben's mess that is letting the lizard loose, while Ben ran off. So cool. Colleen. I mean, literally, they're trying to clean this mess up.
Yeah.
That Ben did. So
yeah,
cool. And then
Thanks, Ben.
Colleen helps free Peter from I wrote this gray lizard with wings because that's what he is. And they notice that he's obviously been spliced with something, vampire DNA. Because very conveniently, because plot, we see a comatose Morbius on a ventilator. So, there's that.
You just saw the box office returns.
Yeah.
He's on life support. He's inhaling copium.
Yeah. All right. So at Beyond HQ, Ben is thinking about how he doesn't feel anything, while, also thinking about when he was dismantling Langston and what he is about to do to end this Beyond storyline. So there's that.
I am very edgy. I am 14 and this is deep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then we see Maxine talking to a board member of Beyond about shutting things down and hightailing it. But Ben's caught up with her before she can push the big red button.
Don't hit the button.
Colleen and Misty wake up Morbius, who now has
$40 million for opening weekend. Isn't that bad, bro?
Again.
Yes.
He's no longer, missing his arms.
And his
the
nipple.
last time we saw him. And
Damn you,
is stable.
Sony.
Seems to be mentally stable again and normal as he can be. And they ask him if he wants to team up with them on shutting down Beyond and helping stop the vampire lizard. And he says, why not? Ben continues to tell himself that he's not a bad person for wanting the memories he has from Peter's life, back. So it helps him know his morals, because otherwise he doesn't, apparently, even though he knows that he's a bad person for doing this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that ontological? Isn't that ontological revisionism?
That and circular logic too.
Yeah.
Whoa! What was that? Sounds like you've been taking classes with Dark Mark again.
Look, JR. I know you're an American and Americans can't read, but these are important high-level concepts you're learning.
Get him, Neil. Get him.
All right. Wow.
Onto my love. I mean, there were so many syllables in there.
Right.
Let Kelly get through it. We got sandwiches to fight. Come on.
Yes.
Guys, we're losing.
Wow.
Oh no, we killed
No.
Kelly.
We all interrupted Kelly so bad her internet died. Oh.
Yeah. It was all those Rotten Tomatoes from the Morbius movie, basically.
Beyond spliced them to make sandwiches.
Oh my God! And that actually was in a comic book.
That was in a comic book.
Look,
Yes.
hang on. I'm okay with the flying sandwiches. This is Beyond Corporation shit right here.
I love how the fact that they also have toothpicks in them. So if they
Jeez.
don't
Here,
they-
someone take me through what else happens in this issue.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna DM Kelly and see if
is getting attacked by killer sandwiches.
There she is.
Oh, there she is.
There she is.
Sort of.
I summoned her back.
Good job, Neil.
Yeah.
Sandwiches.
Sandwiches.
Oh, sandwiches.
Yes, with two
Sandwich.
with toothpicks in
Oh,
them too.
we lost her.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
yeah, Ben's finding sandwiches with toothpicks in them, and apparently,
Here, hold on. We'll get Kelly back and she can finish.
I just
We'll-
DM'd her in Discord.
We'll get some comments up on the screen. Ryan says Morbius's nipple has been reattached.
That's what I said. No one listened.
Kelly
one done that
just
anyways,
DM'd me that she's trying to come back. Maxine hits the big red button. That was easy.
I've got one of those. I need to find it.
Ryan enjoyed when Neil attacked JR. So did I. Ryan also says those sandwiches are double-decker trouble. The movie Morbius from Sony, more BS from Sony. There you go. The killer sandwiches ate Kelly's internet connection. Let's see. Dr. Liz Mike is what Ryan says.
Oh, because Michael Morbius.
How about Mizardius? Oh, here she comes.
Okay.
Hey, there you are. There you are.
I am back. All right. So,
we got sandwiches.
yes. So Ben gets attacked by killer sandwiches. The vampire lizard stops trying to break in where Morbius is and the crew. And so obviously he decides he wants to bust out of the facility. Colleen and Misty decides they have Mike, which is a nickname for that Morbius does not want. They'll team up and get the creature subdued while Spider-Man goes to find Ben. Janine, we cut back to the Beyond Corporation, and Janine saves Ben from the killer sandwiches. They embrace and decide to go very Bonnie and Clyde on Beyond together. Then Marcus and Maxine have an argument since Maxine is dastardly evil. Morbius comes to compromise on his nickname with Misty and Colleen. He's now Dr. Mike. And Colleen wrecks her nice sports car into the vampire lizard, which only makes him mad. So they fight. And Nick Lowe tells us that we're not going to see that until the end of May. So, because we need
I get to cover that part.
Yeah. I really love it because he goes, because we need to get back to Spidey. But
Whatever.
we don't get back to Spidey because we just get back to Ben and Janine and they decide on their plans. And then Ben decides that he can't be a bad person for Janine because she's had too many bad people in her life and he doesn't want to be one for her.
That's downplaying it a little.
So again, he needs Peter's memories, not his own. Okay, cool. And literally that's the end of that issue.
He runs the hell out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that walk cycle from like the PS2 days. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So Kelly, what's your grade on this
the Harry Potter game?
It's a D again.
Yeah. Neil?
I'm giving it a C minus. The only reason I'm giving it a C is McKay's dialogue is better than Thompson's, but the problem is he stuck with a terrible script.
Very bad. Nick Lowe's script sucked. Mike?
Same as last issue. This is a D plus. I mean, although I do agree that the dialogue is slightly better in this one than last issue, but not by much.
I'm giving it also a D minus. Absolutely horrible. I'm glad that you all. I've been giving lots of D's and beyond,
right?
And I'm glad that you guys are all coming along.
I'm going to defend my position really quick. I think that there was supposed to be a completely different ending, and then at the last minute, when Nick Lowe said, "Okay, we're going to drive Ben Reilly off a cliff," everyone panicked, and Zeb Wells was like, "Oh crap! I got to figure out." I just almost crashed my computer. So it's kind of like what happened with this comic. There was an entirely different ending plotted, but Nick Lowe came at the last minute and said, "Okay, we're gonna do this to Ben," and then Thompson's panicking like, "I'm in the middle of writing this issue." And she had to scrap everything up until this issue and redo it to justify Nick Lowe's direction.
If we go along with what JR said, this was all written on a Zoom call. We could have, when we're all on a Zoom call, the internet drops. Maybe they aren't communicating. Maybe their internet sucks or something. Maybe the message of telephone from me to Neil to Mike to Kelly to JR is not transmitted correctly.
But here's the difference. We would have a good time doing it. This wouldn't be like a miserable edge fest.
That Art Adams covers has been the best part of the entire Beyond story. Yeah.
Gleason's interiors have been phenomenal, though.
Gleason's art is good. I agree with that.
Resident chill incoming.
All right, Neil, you have this issue.
Okay, so our story is technically divided into 3 parts, so I'm going to refer to them as such. Then the continuation of the last issue, the next wave part, and the multiple epilogues. You'll notice that I only gave the part that I like an actual name. Okay. So this issue is written by 3 writers.
Great.
3! Jed MacKay, Cody Ziegler, and Zeb Wells. There's also 5 artists and 5 colorists.
And for the low price, how much did I pay for this?
You paid $4.99 for it.
So it's basically a regular price issue. So
it's $1 more.
$1 more.
But because I respect everybody's time, the only artists I'm going to tell you are Bruno Olivier and Carlos Lopez on colors.
Okay.
So the story begins right where we left off last issue, where Misty, Colleen, and Morbius, or I guess Dr. Mike, just in time for the release of his new bomb of a movie, are fighting off King K. Rool from Donkey Kong. But Jed MacKay wants to move on just as much as we do and never see these characters in this story again. So Morbius appeals to the audience's lack of patience and fills King K. Rool full of his blood, and I guess he inflates and explodes. The three get the hell out.
Hold on. Let me get the giant Morbius explosion. Hold on.
The king. Where we think the lizard explodes.
The lizard Morbius. Oh, what did I eat? I ate a bad movie.
I ate those 21%. I ate those Rotten Tomatoes
I ate those Rotten Tomatoes. That's good, Mike.
But the three flee the scene and luckily are never seen again in this book, and thank God. Anyways, I'm Neil Bogenreiter, and this is Disney Channel.
Real quick, and if you don't mind, Neil, I was confused when I read this because I've been reading Morbius for a long time. And when did he have wings? I don't remember wings on the back of Morbius. Did he have them?
Well, you see, anyways, we cut over to the only part of this book that I actually care about, which is the next wave references.
Well, hold on. JR, Morbius, has he ever had wings?
Anyways, moving on.
He had those little things.
I don't know. You'd have to ask
like
the late
this,
Kevin
right?
Cushing, I guess.
He had those little winged slide things, right? Those little things, I thought that was like his costume,
like man bat wings out of him.
No, but those were part of his costume where he had where he could glide.
These are coming out of his back. When did this happen?
Well,
what?
You see
now.
The plot demanded it.
Clearly, these people have not seen the Morbius. The writers and artists have not seen the Morbius movie. Otherwise, they would have known about.
Did he have wings in the '90s cartoon?
Nobody had those little sucker hands.
Yeah, he had a trench coat, and he just flew around.
Where did Batman get the freaking wings? Chat, help me out. But go ahead, Neil.
But anyways, I'm Neil. This is Disney Channel. Anyways, we cut over to the only part of this book I care about, which is the next wave part. So I guess Misty and Colleen just ran away. They forgot to deal with the Staten Island facility. So Monica Rambeau shows a bit later, now with her former Avengers leadership back to being a chip on her shoulder, which you would only get if you read Next Wave. That'll come up later. With a grudge for Beyond Corporation back on her mind, Monica goes full nuclear and tears her way through the facility. She eventually comes across her old Next Wave teammate, Machine Man, who, if you read Slott's Iron Man, if you didn't, I don't blame you, but he was dumped by Yocasta and decided to become a supervillain for Beyond Corporation because they would give him beer. The only thing he ever cared about.
Okay.
So the two tear through the facility, and if you're wondering where the rest of Next Wave is, Monica kind of gives you the down low. So Boom Boom is on mutant Israel. Elsa's in England doing things that only Kelly Thompson cares about. And the Captain, who Captain America infamously scrubbed his mouth out with soap, is nowhere to be seen.
I like that in this issue, Monica literally kicks him in the ass like 3 times.
Yeah,
like in this panel.
Yeah,
it's
basically.
Like
I can relate to that. I can relate to that. He was in Iron Man. He was in Slott's Iron Man. I don't blame her.
Yeah, get off your machine butt.
So the two tear through the facility. Oh, I already said that part. So anyways, Machine Man uses his nostril USB dongles to interface with the mainframe. And Maxine arrives via hologram yet again to gaslight gatekeeping girl boss Monica out of her rampage. Monica gives her the finger and blows up the facility. And she and Machine Man use the obsidian star from 78 Point Bay to escape that Misty and Colleen gave to her. That story ends with Monica noting that this is only one Beyond facility and that there's plenty left to take care of as they walk away from the smoldering wreckage. So
I don't know what the star does. What does the star do again?
It's like a teleportation thing.
It's like remember in Super Mario with the portals? That's how it works.
No, it's a sewer pipe.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. They walk away with something exploding behind them.
Yeah, it's called the Staten Island facility. I just said that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I just got to the panel. Okay, go ahead.
But there's also several more miniseries. The first is fan favorite Classic Doug. We've trademarked him, by the way. He's now a Crawlspace character instead of a Spider-Man character. So next time we have to invite Classic Doug on. But he's getting fired because he took drugs at work and gave them to Spider-Man, which was actually pretty cool of him. But he also named himself Don the Loatian Commotion, which is oddly enough not the weirdest, the oddest email ender that I've ever seen before. Make of that what you will. But at the same time, Ben Reilly is breaking into Beyond Tower and everyone's being evacuated to the lower levels. And Doug decides, like classic Doug does, to give himself a promotion instead of a termination. Meanwhile, Mark Bagley suddenly comes into the picture as Maxine deploys the slingers who were acquired by Beyond in 88.BEY and says, hey, so Spider-Man's in the facility. You're going to go take care of him while I stare menacingly from the shadows. Bye! And the slingers walk around the corner to find a bunch of beat-up Beyond personnel and Ben Reilly saying, all right, Maxine Gaslit keeps girl boss me for the last time. You're next, buckaroo. And Madeline Pryor, Queen Goblin. They're so hard to get mixed up these days. I'm very sorry about that. States her intent to destroy Norman Osborn for getting his sins instead of them going back to him because she doesn't deserve it. And finally, in his sex dungeon, Morbius has a lizard tied up and asks if he wants to make miracles with him.
Right.
Fortunately for Morbius and the lizard,
I request
that's an accurate description, actually.
Meanwhile, Morbius is down in the sex dungeon with the lizard. Go.
And finally, in his sex dungeon, Morbius has the lizard tied up and asks if he wants to make miracles with him, Dr. Connors. Unfortunately for Morbius and Lizard, Marvel is staffed by Americans, and as we've established in this podcast today, Americans can't read. So Editorial didn't read the lead-ins of Sinister War and realized that Lizard and Dr. Connors have been separated for almost an entire year.
Yep.
The end. I'm giving it a B+.
Yeah.
You give it a B+, my ass.
Technically, you only gave one section of that comic B+ because I think everything else in that comic was just
absolute dog shit.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The best issue is yet to come. See you next week.
Okay.
All right, so, Neil, what's your grade? It sounds like you got multiple ones based on story.
Okay, so the first one was Jen McKay basically saying, "Okay, we're getting out of here. We're banning the lizard plot." I'm giving that like a C-. I didn't care about it. The next wave stuff I gave I'm anywhere between a B+ and an A-. And we'll get to the asterisk after that. But the Doug story I gave a C. The Slingers stuff I gave a C. The Queen Goblin stuff I'm actually kind of engaged in, so I'm going to give it a B-. And then the Lizard Sex Dungeon stuff I'm giving a C. Just for the entertainment value.
Here, I'll be easy. I give the whole damn thing an F. Mike, absolute F. F you, F everybody on this book. I hated this
and
book.
Your mom and your sister.
Yeah,
and your
CDF you. God, that book sucked.
Well, the thing is, what you could tell what this book actually was is basically they kind of realized
crap, Mike.
It was a sequel to Next Wave.
Well, who here read Next Wave besides you, Neil? I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
wait, didn't you read it, Mike?
I have never read Next Wave.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think like I said, you're the only one who on this panel has probably read Next Wave.
Tyler has. He should have been here.
Yeah, I mean. But everything about this, aside from like what you said, Brad, I mean, you can tell that this was like basically the promise, like, oh, here's all our B plots that we haven't wrapped up yet. We got to shove them all in this one issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's the food on the buffet that nobody ate. Here you go.
Here's a teaser for Queen Goblin's plot.
Jesus.
I will say though, the Queen Goblin thing looks
relatively
interesting. because it is following up on what happened with Norman Osborn, at least. I mean, it is. I mean, we are kind of getting.
We haven't touched it up. We haven't touched up on Sensitive Norman since '74.
Yeah, right. So at least we're sort of following up on old Nick Spencer plots.
So
sort of.
Neil had A, B, C, D, E, or F on his grade. I had a straight F. Mike, what do you got for a grade?
Yeah, this is probably just about maybe. I wouldn't say F. I say this is like about like a D or something. I did like some sort, all together. I did like certain parts better than others, but that's not enough to recommend it.
That's like saying I like mushrooms on the pizza, but the whole pizza sucked, but the mushrooms are great.
yeah, pretty much. Right.
Jeez, Kelly, what's your grade on this thing?
I'm just gonna do D's. I'm just gonna do D's across the board. I think on everything, because I don't want to necessarily. It can be worse, and I think it will get worse.
Oh yes.
So
wait a minute, was Spider-Man even in this damn book?
No. Ben was in
it for one panel.
It's a G. It's a G now. God, it sucked. That's what the G stands for. So we got a D out of Kelly. Here, I got a comment, question for JR. Or Hornacek says, JR is shocked at how negative Brad has become when reviewing Amazing Spider-Man. Are you shocked how negative I am, JR?
Well, Brad, first of all, after working with you for over 15 years, you're pretty well, there's no depths that you can go to that would shock me. But no, what I'm shocked at, the way you guys just, holy cow. I mean, wow. I mean, when is anybody embarrassed? Was anybody embarrassed to have put that piece of crap out?
I mean,
no,
I haven't read that.
I'll get into that, but I get the feeling Jed McKay probably was.
I'm embarrassed. Wow. I bought it. God,
I feel very lonely. Really? I feel very lonely in the sea of D's.
Oh God.
Gosh.
Okay. No shame from Low, says Ryan.
No.
Okay. Good God, Neil. Pros. You like the Next Wave stuff that nobody read.
Yeah.
You like the Goblin. Anything else? Pro wise? The art maybe.
I was going to say the art overall was fairly inoffensive. There wasn't anything like actively hated. I guess it did a solid job of wrapping up all of the plot points that Beyond set up at the beginning. We'll get into the negative part of it later. Yeah. But for the most part, it wrapped up most of the plot lines that Beyond had set up, and then prepares a few more for Wells's run. So on a technical level, it accomplishes what it set out to do.
It accomplished to set everything up that's been running for 18 issues, 19, 20 plus in one book. Let's resolve it all, every single plot point. Right?
Something like that. But it's also teasing for like future plots to come, just essentially too. Just horrible. Because it seems like that with that thing with Monica and Machine Man walking from the explosion, like coming soon, Next Wave 2.0.
Yeah, they're about to get the gang back together.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Hornacek has answered my question about Morbius's wings. He got him during his solo series in 2020.
Again,
that's not George. That's Google. I keep saying Americans can't read, and you keep proving my point.
No, I said Google. Did I say George?
You said George.
I got George on the brain. All right. Any other pros? Kelly, you got any pros? It wasn't an F for you.
I did like that.
I mean, it wasn't an F. I can jokingly say I didn't know that we needed 50 Shades of Lesbius, but
Lesbius. Meanwhile, down in Morbius's sex dungeon, I've never heard that said in 15 plus years of the podcast.
Aren't you glad you heard it? Aren't you glad you heard it though?
No, I want to delete the file from my brain, the audio file that's on loop from you.
Well, considering how porous your memory is anyway, Brad, that won't be
shut up.
So in other words, Brad, you're saying you want to get a memory erasure like Ben Reilly did.
Oh my gosh.
You want to get Men in Blacked.
Finkman is telling me that my safe word is shed.
Okay, now you're crossing the line, Venkman.
Oh, Venkman, that's funny. That's funny. Okay, cons, Neil.
Okay, so
Here we go.
You've kind of brought this up before, and I'm going to agree with you on this.
Thank
that one, Spider-Man isn't in this book, and two,
Yes.
it is more or less a dumping ground for all of the
Yes.
key plots that nobody wanted.
Smells
That said,
like fart.
I liked that how they did most of them. But that said, there was no Spider-Man here, so this was kind of pointless if you wanted to see Spider-Man. If you're not a Next Wave fan like me, the grade goes down to like a C- at best. I'm admitting a very personal bias here because I have read Next Wave, so I know what they're talking about in the Monica story.
How old is Next Wave?
It was
Isn't
created,
like
I think,
10 years ago.
It was in 2005 by Ellison Immonen.
Wow.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So like Jed McKay knows. So like when Jed McKay's like doing the Next Wave stuff, he's got it fairly down pat. Like he knows what he's writing about. That said, another con that I had is that one, the art didn't really stand out. It was, like I said, it was fairly inoffensive, so it's like nothing really popped for me. That goes to the next issue, but also some of the plots have been kind of in the background for 17 issues or more. So we're just now getting back to like following up on the Obsidian Star plot line from the Daughters of the Dragon issue. Mm-hmm. And we're just now following up on Morbius and his severed arm and nipple from 79.
Mm-hmm. JR, did you get that sentence? We're following up on the severed arm and the nipple. Boy, do you have a good binge coming up for you, buddy.
But
Morbius lost his nipple, by the way.
Well, maybe
Spoiler.
George Clooney has it. So.
But
wait, hold up. You hope George Clooney has Morbius's nipple? What do you say?
It's a very old Batman joke.
Batman joke.
Oh,
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin
Bat nipples and badass.
Got it. I get it. Okay.
But it just amazes me that these plot lines have been sitting in the background for a good 15 issues, and they're just now getting brought up again. Almost
it's like they were in the back of the refrigerator with an expiration date of issue 1 coming up. So let's wrap this turd up.
It's where Kevin the piece of cheese has been since the Mackie Byrne days.
That's
but
funny.
Yeah,
okay.
But I'm willing to make it as like my kind of overall con. If you didn't read Next Wave and you didn't care about if you didn't care about the technical aspect of wrapping up the Beyond plots, you're not going to like this issue. I am very much admitting a personal bias on my part.
So I enjoy, as a longtime reader, old Spider-Man plots being brought into the Amazing Spider-Man title. That's kind of like a little cherry on top. I don't really care for old Next Wave plots from 2005 to be wrapped up in my Amazing Spider-Man. I don't get it.
These stories aren't for you, Brad.
I guess not. I don't get it. Who was this for? The book was canceled.
Obviously, Neil.
Tyler and I both enjoyed it, so it was made for at least 2 people.
Mm-hmm. It was not meant for a mass audience, I don't think, because the book is very old.
Because no one's read Next Wave except me and Tyler.
Next Wave except Neil and Tyler.
Anyway,
so. I'll send you guys a link to it.
I'm good. This did not make me want to read more, Neil. Mike or Kelly, what do you what are we on? We're on cons now. Let me hear.
We're kind of on cons, yeah. I mean, again, it was one of those things where a lot of these plots, I mean, it's more like one of the reasons why I didn't really care about them is because you kind of forgot about them. I mean, you're just
exactly.
I mean, it's like, was it really important that we follow up on what happened to Morbius and how he grew his arm and nipple back? No. Did we really need to know about the Black Star thing? No. And again, do we really need to know? I mean, I guess
waited 15 issues for this.
Do we really need to know about what's his name in accounting, who basically it was like some throwaway character who apparently, I guess, was more important.
You know what we do care about, though, Mike? What the hell happened to Peter Parker? That's what I care about.
Right? Yeah. I mean, because also, and the Slinger, and also the Slingers, an issue which a bit apparently did not read because apparently, we didn't read. Hey, I guess they were now corporate stooges now. I guess for Beyond, it's
so bad.
I mean, everything about this was just like, okay, these are just stories. We're following up on stories you kind of forgot about because we didn't really give them the attention they deserved at the time. But now we are.
It'll cost you an extra $1 to find out these.
I mean, the thing is that I'm glad that they at least tied them up, because lately, especially like before Nick Spencer came on, a lot of stories, like B stories, never got cleaned up, and they're just kind of just hanging there and hoping people forget about them.
I'd even argue that Spencer had that problem too at the end of his run.
Yes, well, I think he was hightailing it.
But like if his name is on the cover, we kind of have to assume that like these plot points were gonna get resolved, but they never did. So it's kind of also on him and editorial.
I agreed. So like at least in this case, things are being tied up. However, especially with this issue, before we go into the next one, and we were told, oh hey, you're gonna finally see some more Peter, you're gonna finally see Spidey.
Thank God.
And it's like, did Peter decide he needed to go to Starbucks before finding Ben? Like, because
I mean,
we're not really getting anywhere with this, because the thing is people, the readers didn't really care about these stories just as much as the writers and editorial did.
Yep. Well, here's the thing, Kelly. You're kind of onto something with Peter going to Starbucks, because this comic was written for white girls, so it makes sense that Peter would go there to relate to the audience.
Why is it? What? I don't get it.
What?
I don't get it. I had something there and I lost it completely. Just ignore that.
Yeah.
Landon wants to know what our thoughts are on Nick Lowe.
We'll get to that in a minute after.
Wait till his letter page
the letters
at
page,
the end of JR's.
I want to see JR react to it. I don't know if he's read the letters page. Have you read
he's reviewing it? You read the letters page, haven't you, JR?
Oh, I'm asking if he's going into it blind though, because I want to see if he's reading it like completely raw, no like pre-reading before.
Here we go. He's reading it now.
Well, I was about to say, how could it be worse than that 2-page self-indulgent piece of crap at the end of issue 75? Is it worse?
Yeah. Well,
yes, JR, it is. Honestly, read the letters page at the very end of it about, hey, I'm sorry to all the Ben Reilly's fans that this thing sucked, but this is why we do.
Miles Morales is here to stay.
Oh, that I saw. I mean,
okay, good. You did see that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this piece of crap?
I liked it.
All right. JR, who has not read any previous issues, this is his first exposure to Beyond. He hasn't read an issue.
Yes, he read 75 and 76. He was there.
75 and 76.
And that's when I quit.
And then he was like, well, you know what? Brad asked me back on. I think I'll tackle the wrap up. So JR, take me through this issue. Spider.
Boy, I don't know. I tell you, after that BEY issue, though, honestly, this is starting to seem like Steinbeck. Wow, that honestly, and in the old days, like Stan would probably admit, that wasn't our finest hour, and even after, but you'll never see anybody take accountability for the Beyond story and how bad it was. You just never. No one will even have the humility to say, that didn't quite work, or explain why it didn't work. And it'll be all our faults because we just didn't understand how effing brilliant it was. But anyway.
You sound like you're quoting Steve Wacker from back in the day.
Well, he wasn't doing the stories for us either. He was doing them for him. So,
that's
true. It sounds like he's prepping us for like our dog getting hit by a truck or something.
Yeah. The story begins with a heavily redacted version of flashbacks from the Clone Saga. Mary Jane tells the Scarlet Spider that he can't have Peter's life, and the scene in the attic from Revelations, which of course sidesteps the whole point that the reason that Mary Jane and Peter were making room in the attic and in the old Forest Hills house was that they were having a baby. So why would they need to be making room if there was no baby, if it was just them in that big old drafty ass house? So, and why were they even there since they were just why were they in the house together when they were just in a quote unquote committed relationship? But anyway, that's another thing. But then we get to the recurring image that we've been dealing with for 19 friggin' parts of people with holes in their faces to explain Ben Reilly's increasingly porous memory. Yeah. He then snaps out of it with after trading dance moves with the worthless slingers, another concept that had absolutely no life and no substance outside of the original concept of Peter Parker adopting multiple identities during Spider Hunt in order to stave off Norman Osborn's and the bounty, stay off Norman Osborn and the bounty hunter's radar. But Marvel keeps trying to bring it back when no one wants it or asks for it.
Yep.
Then the scene switches to Ben's cuddly buddly Marcus and Maxine Danger. What kind of a stupid ass name is that? Who looks more like Jonathan Kent's boyfriend with the pink hair than anything remotely like an interesting character. And she's probably more masculine than Jonathan Kent's boyfriend too.
I tell you, she's from the Matrix Resurrections. That's they
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
So Maxine's in the process of purging the Beyond Corporation, yet another sinister, evil Marvel corporation, yawn, purging it of all its files on Spider-Man and eliminating both Spider-Men when Cuddly Buddly notices that the original Spider-Man is on his way. All right. So fake Spider-Man burst in on Jonathan Kent's boyfriend, complaining that he has Spiderheimers, and Maxine says, well,
Spiderheimers, that's pretty good.
That was all part of protecting the other Spider-Man, but if you want to be cured of your Spiderheimers, all you got to do is get him to put on this Klingon mind sifter to suck out all his memories and give them to you, which initially Ben doesn't take too well to, but then changes his mind.
Yeah, but he's my friend.
And you've been treating him like that, and you treat him like that for the rest of the story.
Yeah.
But with friends like these.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Jonathan Kent's boyfriend tells Ben's cuddly buddly Marcus that he's another loose end that has to be eliminated, but the kill team will make sure his family can have an open casket. And to just convey what a terrifying menace she is, she tells him not to ruin her memories of him or his execution with his poopy face. I wish they would give Norman such terrifying and menacing dialogue. Okay, so anyway, a couple of Beyond Goons notice the infantilizer is missing. You know, and there's not as many syllables in that word as there was in whatever Neil was saying a story or two ago.
Okay, it's the gun from Sky High.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is.
It
I
is.
thought it.
Neil. I was watching Neil on another podcast where he mentioned that. I realized, oh crap!
I thought it was another reference, but you're absolutely right. That is where
there's the gun.
All right, hang on. We ain't there yet.
Oh hell!
All right. So the two Spideys meet, and Ben tells Peter to put on the Klingon mind sifter. All right. Well, as Cuddly Buddly Marcus is being led to the slaughter by the Beyond Goons, Janine Goodbody, the official piece of ass for Ben Reilly, shows up with the infantilizer and turns the goons into babies. Hence the name, which actually reminds me of the end of an issue of the Defenders back in the 1970s, where Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil are turned into babies, but I guess that didn't last, did it?
And one baby just pissed himself,
by the way.
That's the most realistic part of this book, though. The baby pissing himself.
Yeah.
Oh, what a magnificent artistic piece there. So,
yeah.
Well, we get back to the two Spideys where Ben really is acting like a baby. You know, he hasn't been turned into one, but he's certainly acting like one.
He's about to piss himself.
Because Peter won't put on the Klingon mind sifter. And they leap into battle, and Peter says something that suspiciously looks like one of those onomatopoeias that Dark Mark is always referencing. So, anyway, I don't know. See the panel?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I got it. Is it the BAM one?
No, it's not the BAM one. It's the growl, whatever. So
I'll get to it.
Sounds like something I would say.
Oh, hold on. I got your growl roof.
No, I love Maxine's.
Get rid of the banner.
I love Maxine's logic. You know, Ben. You know, Max.
Wait a minute. Shouldn't that be Ben saying that, not Peter? Why is he? So they misplayed. Shouldn't that be Ben doing that?
Oh, the pointer's wrong on the word balloon.
Yeah, because if that's Ben getting, why is Peter getting upset?
Can we talk about Maxine's logic real quick? Hey, Ben, I know I've lied to you dozens of times and almost gotten you killed, but here, have Peter put on this Klingon mind sifter. It's definitely not a lobotomy device that'll kill him. It definitely won't combust his skull. Trust me, Ben. You've done it before. Do it again.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yep, there we go.
Jeez. Okay.
Well,
Keep
Jonathan
going.
Kent's boyfriend is meeting with the Evil Beyond Corporation's evil board of directors, who tell her to liquidate the lower levels, and then they try to kill her because they're evil. But it's just a hologram, and she gets away so she can go back to Jonathan Kent, where she belongs. All right. Well, back to the spider fight, where Ben is being another douchebag and saying award-winning fight dialogue like, "You hate me because I'm new."
You've been around
And
since
that
the
he
90s.
wants,
Yeah,
and that he
right.
wants what's his, even though it never really belonged to him in the first place, because he's only like the 3800th clone of Peter Parker. So he traps Peter in some spinnerets so he can put on the Klingon mind sifter, but fortunately Peter figured out that Janine Goodbody's name was the code to deactivate them. All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of Janine Goodbody, she and Cuddly Budley Marcus find out that Jonathan Kent's boyfriend, like Elvis in the 1968's comeback special, has left the building, but that the scrub is in process. What's the scrub? Well, it's not something you peel off your skin, or it's not a non-union worker.
We don't want no scrubs, JR.
But it's
Okay. He
goo.
doesn't get that joke.
Jared, the term is scab.
It's what Neil calls ecto cooler is basically what it is.
My gosh.
And that's what comes out of Ben Reilly later.
Yeah.
But it is goo that is comprised of quantum shifting polymers in a psychoreactive medium that confuses and rewrites matter. And it whatever he just said confused the hell out of me as well.
Yeah.
In fact, the goo is already on the floor where Peter and Spider-Ben are. Spider-Ben is acting crazy and childish, where if he just shut up for a minute, he know that Peter was always trying to help him and has always been willing to help him. But that's not where the plot was predetermined to go, slot style. So he once again blames Peter for taking what never really belonged to him in the first place, and then he decides he's just going to fall backward into the green goo.
Here, I got a picture of him blooding up Spider-Man. Mike, you took everything from me.
Uh-huh.
Let's take a look at him just giving up. Oh,
I don't even know who you are.
yeah, let's take a look at this.
You have it all, Peter. All the parts I'm
Doesn't
missing.
he
I
look
just
like
wanted the
Homelander from The
bag.
Boys?
So,
Jeez.
Oh yeah, he does look like.
so is the
Yeah, he
Homelander-
does look like Homelander. Oh my
Oh my.
god.
Is the implication that Ben is secretly jealous of Peter's memories now?
Yes.
Yes.
So Ben, jump. Goodbye, Peter. No.
Guess,
Come
guess I'll
on.
die.
Guess I'll die again. He'll become Ben 28 now.
It's
instead of
okay,
Ben
Peter. I'm
27.
already gone.
We're on Ben 29 if you count Spider-Geddon.
That's true. Yeah.
No, wait, 30 because we count Ben Reilly. Then he died there too. Oh,
And
Ben
here, JR, you got a kaboom. A big kaboom.
Well, that's
he got Nickelodeon slimed. Oh no.
Go ahead,
All
JR.
right. Well, then after Ben falls backward into the green goo, Cuddly Budley shows up to get Peter out of the building, which the bystanders in New York watch drop in size and say, "Hey, isn't that how the last episode of The Defenders on Netflix ended?"
It's called
Yeah.
corporate downsizing.
But
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I stole that joke, by the way, from Neil's podcast, by the way. Sorry.
back at the hospital,
I don't care.
Where Peter
Okay.
has been, where Peter's been because he suffered from radiation poisoning, even though he has radioactive blood, and he
Mhm.
once injected himself with radioactive material during
Yeah.
JMS's run. So he should have a pretty high tolerance to radioactivity.
Not for this plot.
But continuity certainly wasn't important to anyone when they greenlit this piece of crap.
Yep.
Anyway, the doctor is talking smack about Peter, and do doctors really talk like this to their patients in front of their families? But whatever, Peter is free to go because Aunt May's in a hurry to spend another issue exchanging double entendres with Doc Ock in another Brad Douglas approved BAY issue. So
BA what?
BEY.
BE.
The other one was the Michael Bay version.
The Michael
that
Bay.
was-
There would have been multiple. There would have been dozens of explosions as they.
Hey,
kept.
JR, the insults are better when you deliver them, all right?
All right.
I should know.
I'm out of practice.
It's,
I know
it's
you are.
okay, JR. It's okay. We get one flub each episode. You
I'm
need here though, so be careful.
I'm out of practice because I took such a prolonged vacation. Obviously, I should have stayed on vacation. All right. Well, we find out Janine Goodbody finds Ben in the wreckage of the Beyond basement. Weeks later, we're in Mary Jane's apartment. She asks Peter to move in, but before he can accept a bright light breaks through the window, and does he see Jesus? No, because Jesus is now in the X-Men.
Yeah. Okay, whatever.
Hold on.
And,
Let me get the Jesus panel. Hold on. Let me get Jesus. Hold on. All right. Here's Spider Jesus. There you go.
Peter, it's me. You sold your soul to the devil. Let me help you, please. Oh no! I'm going
Well,
away.
here's the thing. It could be worse. It could be the Beyonder. It could be Judas Traveler.
Oh,
It
beautiful.
could be.
Oh God. Traveler's back. Oh God.
Wasn't Jesus the first X-Men though? I mean,
Yeah,
Jesus,
apparently
First
now.
mutant, there you
that's
go.
canon. Okay, whatever.
I mean, I thought it was a Submariner, but I guess it's Jesus now.
No,
Yeah.
I thought that was just.
I thought it was
just
It technically should be Apocalypse.
I thought that was just
Yeah.
Exodus blowing.
Yeah.
I thought that was just Exodus blowing smoke, though. That entire thing.
What's that sound?
That was, I think, I don't know, but I guess it killed Mike.
Oh no.
Poor Mike.
Anyway,
All right. So
All right,
bright
keep
light
going.
says a trail of blood led to you. Come with me, which I suppose is going to lead into the events of the new rebooted #1 issue of Amazing Spider-Man, because we've never seen one of those before. Months later, we go to Ben and Janine's apartment, where Ben is freaking out because he sees a symbolic black hole in the middle of his face, puts on a purple mask, leaps out of the building, and on the last page, we are introduced to Chasm. Well, basically, Ben said, I read some of those old slot big-time issues and saw the Spider Green Lantern suit that he gave to Spider-Man, and so I thought I'd mix that concept with yet another variation of
And
the
throw
look
in a
of the
Baja
Venom
Blast
symbiote-
Mountain Dew.
of the Venom symbiote,
Yeah, I
and
can
come
put all
up
these
with
jokes
whatever
first.
this glow-in-the-dark monstrosity is. But I bet we'll be able to market it as either a Marvel Legends figure or a Funko Pop
No.
in the near future.
No, you know what that is, JR. That is a Chasm ongoing, is what that is.
that's a Marvel hot toy right there.
That is a new series coming from Marvel. Spider-Man Chasm or whatever.
I
Okay.
have
And thus ends what Nick Lowe described in Amazing Spider-Man 876 as a 19-part epic that had more twists and turns and insane moments than we were prepared for, with the best writing team comics had ever seen.
Go
Hey,
ahead,
hey,
Kelly.
Brad.
What were you going to
Hey,
say, Kelly?
Oh,
The end.
I just the name Chasm makes me think of another word that I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
think. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Chasm, isn't it a giant hole? Is that what it? like
Yes.
And
yes, that's
But-
Brad,
but
you
it
couldn't
just
get
sucked into?
sounds-
See, it could
I
have been
know.
worse,
It
Brad. They
starts
could
with
have,
an O, is what I think you're
See-
thinking of.
Brad, it could have been worse. They could have called his new name Spawn or Haunt.
Oh,
From Image Comics,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's kind of what he looks like.
I-
Oh,
I
he's
am-
also
I
sold
am-
the green.
I
He's
am
also
glad that
sold the
Brad
Green
really
Goblin's
cares about
color
this
scheme,
again.
by the way, if you notice.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
got a green goblin. And JR, well, don't overlook the letters to the fans. Please talk about that a little bit.
Well, I didn't read this, but he talks about how great everybody is. But then he says, Ben Reilly fans out there, Ben is an incredible character who didn't really have a place in the spider landscape anymore. Well, first of all, did he ever? Did he ever?
Here's it's funny. It's like, okay, so yeah, you got Miles Morales, you got Miguel O'Hara, you've got you got Cindy Moon, you've got Spider Gwen, you've got all the different variations of Spider Woman, you've got all. But when it comes to Ben Reilly, the clone of Spider Man, it's like, we have no idea what to do with him.
What about that other clone of Peter?
Yeah,
Kane, that we all
Kane.
forgot about. Yeah, we don't know who's always watching and stuff. We don't know. Yeah,
He wasn't even in this book.
he's not even in this book. Who has nothing to contribute to this? So let's just make Ben evil again, because why not?
We'll get that to the cons. I want to hear JR's grade. You haven't read it since '76. You've heard about flying sandwiches. You got little rabbits that bite Spider-Man. We got.
It's hard, usually I reserve F's for being personally offended, but I don't know. Obviously this is a D minus at least.
Yeah.
This is offensive. I mean, this is offensive.
It's offensive to being a Spider-Man fan or a Ben Reilly fan or both,
or a comic book fan. I mean, this is
Okay.
terrible. All of
Yeah.
this was terrible.
It
And
was.
what you guys described in the last issue was offensive.
Yeah.
Absolutely offensive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's no reason for this story to have existed whatsoever. None whatsoever. It adds nothing to Spider lore. It's nothing. It's a placeholder. They should have been embarrassed to have put this piece of crap out, and Nick Lowe should have been embarrassed with the way that he hyped it up at the beginning. Knowing that he was slinging a piece of shit, but then trying to describe it as the most imaginative thing ever put on paper.
Hang on, Brad. Can we recreate the interview he did for Marvel.com? Brad, put me on center.
Okay, hold on. There you go.
It will blow your mind. That's what he looked like in the interview. I need to find a picture of him, but he looks like a psychopath trying to point at his head and say, "It's gonna blow your mind, guys. Please pick it up."
He's a hype man. His job is to make you buy this stuff, and we did. And it's.
Well, we didn't buy it because he said it. We bought it because we're drug
We've been buying it for 40 years.
Not anymore.
Well, this and the thing about this, I mean, if we're going to go ahead with grades and stuff like that, I mean, I'm giving this about a D. I mean, I kind of want to give it higher because of the Patrick Gleason arc. That's the one thing I like.
Patrick Gleason art is amazing.
Yes, that is the one pro out of this whole thing, is that he's actually got some, that's the one saving grace out of this whole run, is that we got, Patrick shows that Patrick Gleason can draw and write at the same time.
Yeah. So we got a D minus out of JR. We got a D out of Mike. Neil, your grade?
I am very torn on this one because there are some technical aspects about this book that I appreciate. I'm very tempted to give it a C. But on the other hand, I'm very tempted to just skip Gleason altogether and the technical bits and view the character assassination of Ben Reilly as completely earth-shattering horseshit. So I'm gonna go with a C minus, but with a couple of asterisks attached to it.
Right?
Kelly, what's your grade?
D.
I will give it a D. I thought it was better than the previous 3, mainly because of Mr. Gleason. Mr. Gleason wasn't on this book. F. Absolute F. JR, what did you like besides the Gleason art?
I don't even know if you liked that.
Oh, did you like the Gleason art?
No, I mean,
you didn't even like the art.
Wow.
One, I mean, it's like, why does Ben look like Homelander? I mean, what is he doing? What is he doing? Sketching? What's the actor's name?
Anthony Starr.
Yeah, which the clips I've seen, I don't.
Oh, you'd love that show, JR.
I don't subscribe to any of that.
Boys.
Well, the only reason I ever subscribe to screaming crap is to give my wife something to do. I don't watch it myself.
Good Lord, JR.
Well, I mean, I'm not paying for television. I mean, my God, it should be free, and I should.
Do you not pay for cable?
But I don't watch it. That's for other people in the house.
JR, do you not have any pros? Nothing?
No way. I mean,
right.
No. Why? It's honestly, God, it's garbage. Absolute friggin' garbage.
Is it bad if I think Jared sounds like Sammy Classic Sonic fan? When will you learn? When will you learn that your actions have consequences?
Was that a Next Wave reference? What the hell?
No, that's a reference to another YouTuber.
It's an internet meme. Yeah.
Okay. Neil, you had the highest grade. Why did you like it?
So Gleason's a huge part of it. He's worth almost 2 letter grades for me.
Oh hell no.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Good, but not that good.
Oh my God. That's why you invited the cover. Who does that?
That's why you invited Art Guy into the stream to provide some variety in the grades.
Yeah.
But on a technical level, I thought the issue was fairly well paced. It didn't feel like there was any, aside from the epilogues, the main story didn't feel like it really wasted any pages or anything. It felt a little brisk. But I felt like the stakes were fairly palpable, aside from Maxine giving him the lobotomy helmet and saying, "Put this on Peter, it'll fix all your problems, I promise." That part was stupid. But
by the way, that's a reference back to, if you think about it, back to the Superior Spider-Man, because remember, Beyond stole all of Doc Ock's Parker Industries stuff.
Yeah, but I do think on a technical level, the book was much better than the actual characterization of Ben Reilly, especially, and potentially even Peter at times, because Peter wasn't awful, but there were some moments that felt like it was derailing and going I wanted to help you, Ben, or all I wanted was your help, Peter. Yeah, all I wanted to do was help you. I'm going to fight you now. Ah!
Yeah,
and that felt like what was happening.
Any other pros, Kelly or Mike, before we just start?
I can give a pro. The fact
Mike.
that Brad, you called this from the very beginning, to saying
did.
that this was going to be a Spider-Man versus Spider-Man fight.
We all did, didn't we?
I think we all did. Yeah,
that was the common consensus.
It was, but I'm just saying that was, I guess.
That's
welcome to the.
You've had better prediction than I did, evidently. I mean, that was, of course, Ben's going to fight Spider-Man. Of course. I mean, there's no
right.
What you predict? What was your prediction years ago, Mike? What did you have?
Oh gosh, what was it that?
You have pretty good. You have more luck than I do with that kind of thing.
Yeah, but what was it? Well, the one I came up with the fact was, there was a few of them and everything. Now the thing is, I was wrong about. I initially thought, and this is what it would have been actually would have made more sense considering because Ben Reilly as a character. I mean, I know we make fun of Ben Reilly a lot on this podcast, but one of the things about Ben Reilly that was kind of unique about him was because even though he was a clone, he was somebody who kind of. He was always somebody character who wanted to try to find himself, because if you go back to the Clone Saga, he had that existential crisis, like, oh my gosh, my life is a lie and everything like this. But then what did he do? He did next. He says, okay, I got to figure out who I am. He then gives a name to himself. He then goes across the country for 5 years and tries to in search of himself and everything.
And he found a good writer in J.M.D. Mateus.
Exactly. And then he also. Even when he was Spider-Man, even in this one, he was trying to I want to be a Spider-Man on my own terms.
Yes.
And yet in this issue, we're going to throw all that out the window. It's all about, I need Peter's memories and everything. And what I thought what they were going to do was have this moment where Ben goes, so when he faces Maxine, says, and basically goes, no, you did me a favor. You took away those things. Now I can be my own person. I don't have to be I don't have to be
makes sense.
Clone Spider. No, instead because they had this mandate of him having to be, we got to make him evil now because we don't have Venom anymore, because Venom's a good guy and we have to have the dark evil version of Spider-Man. We're going to do this to him and make him into some 1990s dork age ripoff thing for now. And
I don't think anyone wants. I think they want Scarlet Spider back. They want him to put on the hoodie. Mm-hmm. They don't want him to be evil. They want him to be a tortured Spider-Man that is trying to do better. I think is what the majority of Ben Reilly fans, at least I like the character.
Let me offer a hypothesis for what I think Ben Reilly fans actually want.
What do they want?
For him to stay dead. Because Ben's legacy couldn't be ruined unless it was through an untold tale.
Right.
Conspiracy killed the character for me. He resurrected Uncle. He dug up Uncle Ben's grave. You don't come back from that.
Tyler made the meme of Dr. Manhattan. It is 2016. Marvel has made Ben Reilly a villain. It is 2018. Ben Reilly is now a villain after his solo series ends. It is 2022. Amazing Spider-Man's ended. Ben Reilly is now a villain. Right. I tire of these editors. I tire of these people. Their lives.
Right. And then the thing is, what's maddening about this is because if you think about it, Kane was supposed to be the one who was supposed to be the dark, tortured version of Spider-Man, and then they now he becomes the anti-hero, and then they realize, okay, we're going to bring Ben back, and then we're going to give him Kane's story and make him the evil guy. And it's
I'll be honest, I don't think anyone's really thinking that far ahead, and I think that's kind of the whole point. Somebody was just like, "Oh, doesn't this sound cool?" Without any context, without caring to do the research or actually understand the character. And that's really ultimately what it is here. The only pro I have is that it's over.
Yes.
And
Amen.
that's kind of not, and on a serious note, that's not okay.
Yep.
Right.
The people that are buying your comics, weekly at this point shouldn't breathe a sigh of relief that it's over.
Yes.
And unfortunately, according to Nick Lowe, this is just so great, man. While you're alienating every single fan that actually keeps you running. Marvel's been doing this for years like this, where they essentially just don't care about the people that keep the lights on. They want new readers, so they're going to do whatever flashy story that they can without ever really thinking about, what the ramifications of that are. And that literally proves right here, like I said earlier, it feels like everyone played telephone and nobody really knew what was going on other than they had this quote unquote I guess maybe an hour Zoom call where
Yeah.
they plotted something out
Yeah.
vaguely.
Mm-hmm.
And
Kelly, who is happy about this?
Nobody.
I like Peter Parker. I want him in my Spider book. For 20 issues, he was minimalist in his own book. Ben Reilly fans are ticked because they've turned their character that they fell in love with in the 90s
into
is
Kane.
now a villain. Neither
not
neither
even
camp
Kane.
are happy.
He's not
No
even
one's
Kane
happy.
anymore. He's literally Haunt from he's literally Haunt from Image now, or like the guy
yeah,
who
and
was.
I mean,
The 90s are back, baby.
Yes, right.
well,
Who's happy?
Nobody.
90s
That's what I'm
90s
saying.
Image fans probably.
What, Kelly?
I mean, honestly, it just seems like the only person's happy is Nick Lowe, and he can kind of suck my toe. Like, I don't care.
Well, what was very telling is the fact when admits in the letters page, yeah, we had no idea what to do with this character.
Just kill him off again.
Back.
He could,
we
so
have
here's
no
the
idea.
thing. When
He
you don't know
literally
what
said that,
to
and
do
it's
with
like-
a character, don't use the character.
Yeah.
How
Right.
about that?
Well, if he says you have no idea what to do with his character, well, so we're going to take him this direction. Why should we be expected to care about this new direction you're taking him?
JR, you and I were talking earlier. Ben Reilly should have not come back from after Revelations, correct?
Well, I mean, he had a poignant ending. You know,
He
had
died a hero.
He died a hero. He had a dignified death, and his memory is again. You know, Peter loses the closest thing he had to a brother. You know, not like brother best friend, but a brother. You know, and another notch in Norman Osborn's belt. There was no need for the character to come back, but even then, I mean, this honestly, whoever was a fan of Ben Reilly has to be insulted. They had to have been insulted by Clone Conspiracy.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to see him become a villain. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that.
And here's
I just don't get it. But then again, like I said, we keep asking how can Marvel do this stuff, but they, come on, they've been doing it all the time. They did it during the Clone Saga when they tried to tell us that Peter Parker was the clone, and had been. I mean, they they've been chasing these elusive new fans for 20 something years or more, and they still ain't getting them. You'd think they'd learn, but and to be honest, look, the quality, I mean, looking at the quality, I mean, I know you guys are raving about Patrick Gleason and, and I don't want to demean the man. I mean, I guess his art, I mean, I'm not much of an art person, to be honest, but to be honest, the quality of comics is horrible. Absolutely horrible. And the art is terrible. The writing is terrible. It's just the problems are just bigger than what we're seeing in Spider-Man. But we keep lining up every month for our daily dose of opium.
What's the phrase? Holy crap! They put Anthrax in the newest issue of Batman. Oh no! Got to get my Batman.
Is there any doubt in anyone's mind? Is Chasm coming back, or are they going to try to do it ongoing?
He's going to come back. They basically said they've already confirmed to be he's going to come back in Wells' ASM. They've already confirmed it.
Yeah, they want him to basically be like what Venom was in the 90s, like basically the dark evil version of Spider-Man, because they can't use Venom now because Venom is like, a hero.
Space
and
Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. And
but see, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But
no, I was going to say but then again, he can't be Venom because he's not even going to be like Venom. Why? It's going to miss why Venom was popular. Venom was popular because he was, like I always called him, he was the master of disaster, and he had a sense of humor. He was just chaos and all kinds of stuff. This is not, this is not what this Chasm character is.
And again, this is the point of Ben Reilly too, is because the whole idea with Ben Reilly was because, I mean, initially the idea is, when they were drafting the Clone Saga, obviously they were trying to set him up to be like the real deal Spider-Man thing. But the whole idea was they purposely went, let's not make him into an evil clone because that's too much of a cliche. Instead, let's make him somebody who is actually like, hey, somewhat, again, like I said, wants to define who, like, if I'm going to be like the whole idea of like, nature versus nurture type thing with him. Like he wants to be like,
by the way, we haven't had JR on in a few months, and Ryan has a good point about the Goblin Queen. I want to hear JR's thoughts about the Queen Goblin and the fact that the evilness of Norman Osborn was put into Ashley, the clone of Ashley Kafka. Go, JR, your thoughts. I want to hear this.
I think JR wants to go to sleep. He's had enough.
God. Go ahead, JR.
Well, I didn't read a lot of these issues. The only reason
tell me about the concept of what I just
said.
Stupid.
It's just stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that evil. I mean, well, one, you knew it was. You knew things were going into the crapper when, Norman Osborn made a deal with Mephisto. But
Yeah.
the idea that evil is a distillable. I mean, again, I guess we're talking comic books. I mean, I guess I shouldn't sit here and question the logic of comic books.
It's kind of like in Star Trek when like they split Captain Kirk into his good and bad halves, and it was absolutely stupid, but we just went with it anyways because it's Star Trek.
Yeah.
Well,
it's kind of one of those things you have to accept. It's like a comic book thing.
The point of that story, though, was that you need both your good and bad parts. You need them both to be a whole person. And
no, but my point is that you're taking those abstract traits and putting them into separate individuals. Is my point. It's kind of one of those things you have to kind of accept at face value. And
right, I understand that. I mean, again, like I said, we're talking about a comic book. I mean, it's like I can question that, but yet I accept the fact that a guy turns his body into sand. But I can't accept. It's you're. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's just it's not even consistent with the character of Norman Osborn that he has this. I mean, there's so much more wrong with Norman Osborn. I don't know. It just dumb. Dumb.
So I do have one very minor pro. Oh, sorry. Did Kelly want to go?
Kelly.
I was just. I mean, it's just kind of a piggyback on what JR is saying, but also kind of bringing back what I was talking about with the whole fact that nobody's caring about the fact that like what makes these characters important to us are their backgrounds and their history and how they're fully fleshed characters, and all they keep doing is taking those things away from them.
Yep.
And then not understanding why it's no longer working. I mean, like literally they could have a storyline with Ben about the fact that he did lose all of Peter's memories. Because right now they're trying to say, but because that happened, he's this bad person or whatever. But the thing is like they could actually use that as like, okay, he is a free man. What is he going to do? If he's no longer tied by Peter's morals, who is he?
See,
that would be a more interesting situation than naming him something that sounds absolutely X-rated. So
I do have actually to not to counter that, but to kind of add on that, they kind of tried that in David's Scarlet Spider run and that tanked because no one was interested in seeing morally ambiguous Ben. But there was one small pro that I had. Marcus. I don't think he's like a well-rounded three-dimensional character, but I did find myself strangely endeared to him because he felt like he grew at least mildly over the course of the book, and by the end he okay Brad
I'm sorry I think he degraded as a character. He's been degrading since the 90s as a character.
Marcus? I'm talking about Marcus. I
thought you were talking about Ben. I apologize.
Marcus, the handler. Yeah, I enjoyed kind of his growth of principle, even if it's cliched as hell. I kind of appreciated that shift in contrast to Ben. I do have another con. That Beyond Corporation ended up amounting to nothing. We were if the association with Beyond Corporation is tied to like Next Wave, and like we've said earlier, you could have done like any corporation. You could have done Roxxon. You could have done Alchemax. You could have done I don't know, Stark Unlimited, because it's just as bad as them. But Beyond Corporation comes with a sort of weird abstraction and absurdism in terms of what it comes up with conceptually, like flying cactuses or pterodactyls with lasers on their heads. And we didn't get any of that until the Monica Rambeau issue. And for that reason, like, I feel kind of cheated in that sense.
I just think it goes back to what I said earlier about, going back to, Maxine Danger and everything like this. Again, this is one of those issues like, I get to be like Lex Luthor now with like repeated use of the hologram things. And she never earned that to me at all.
True.
She never felt like, and also they're kind of like her, haha, I'm Xanatos, I'm getting away with it. Yeah. It feels like they really want me to care about her being a villain long term, and I don't at all.
I'm happy to see her gone.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anything about these. I mean, one, it felt like a temporary solution in the first place. Nothing feels earned. Nothing feels deserved.
Yep.
And it just, I mean, what could have been interesting and great fell flat, and it's becoming increasingly clear that Editorial wants to do what they want to do in what they think is going to sell. And it's almost, I mean, I think George said it whenever he stopped reading, that it's like abuse. Yeah. It is. Like it's borderline abusive to the fans.
Even when we get a scene here where we have like a relationship upgrade with another with Peter and Mary Jane, all of a sudden we know it's not. It's like, oh, because it's leading into whatever the next story is going to be about how everybody hates Peter for some reason.
Why don't they just do what they did in the 70s and 80s and let the editors write it? If this is the story they want to tell it, why don't we just let them go?
Yeah.
Nick Lowe, write the story. Tom Brevoort, write the story.
Yeah.
CB Cebulski, write your story that you want to tell.
Write your Marvel manga.
Exactly.
Go back.
But here's the thing.
We can give him back as Akira Yoshida name.
I mean, Roger Stern was an editor. He did a great job. Let's see how good these editors are.
But what stories do they want to tell? I mean, here's the thing.
Know.
Do they even care about these characters? Do they have a philosophy behind these characters?
No.
I mean, it's like
what I agree. What do they want to tell, JR? Why are they guiding the ship of the writer that they've hired to in mid-flight
cut the middleman? Cut out the middleman. Like, save money. Write your own damn stories.
Even though obviously I fervently disagree with Joe Quesada and his philosophy that Spider-Man just had to be single and couldn't be married and couldn't have a baby. I mean, but at least he had a philosophy about what what Spider-Man was. I mean, it was like Spider-Man has to be the same guy that I was when I read him when I was 9 years old, but he had a philosophy of the character. And in fairness, as wrong as it was, what do these guys believe in?
And in fairness to Quesada, he even pitched in and did the art for one more day. So it's not like he just like told JMS to go do this thing. He actively contributed instead of just kind of cowering in the corner.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, this is getting to a point where, like, I think picking out, like you said, Brad, it's like it's clear that these guys, like, they figure like, oh, that whatever their vision is, I think it's almost like they want to write the story, but they go, oh no, we got to have these other guys do it. And again, it's one of these things where it's almost like to this point where like, oh, let's like even what was coming up now with they have like, oh, let's have a version of the Sinister Six that's combined into one person and call them like whatever, and have like another thing like. And again, this is just one of these things where you're looking at this, what's going on here, and it just feels like you're just kind of throwing out what you think seems cool.
By being the reader, here's what I suspect the editor's job is, what they've been tasked with themselves to do. Spider-Man progresses either to a relationship with Mary Jane. The editors have to say, nope, can't go that. We got to keep him Charlie Brown. We got to keep him ever young. Oh, he's advancing with a career. Nope. Steer the ship back. He's got to be eternally young. He can't grow. He can't do anything.
And the weird part is that you could easily, especially in today's economy, like 78% of people are struggling to pay rent. You could easily do like a Spider-Man is poor story and have it resonate with readers, but they kind of keep him in like
99 with Byrne, where Spider-Man was homeless.
But I'm about to say, they're trying to keep him like in this weird middle ground where conveniently he has enough money to pay rent and have like an iPhone 13, but not enough to like actually make it like impact his mental state or like impact the psychology of how he operates.
Do you guys agree with my theory though? Their job is to put the train back on the track if it veers off left or right too much. Is that what it is?
That implies it never wasn't that directive.
Yeah,
but I mean, it was.
What, Kelly?
I mean, to me, it's just it really feels like Editorial is the one that's derailing everything.
Yes. Yeah.
People
they don't let the writers write. They don't let the writers write. They didn't. I think that's not to put words in his mouth, but if I was a writer and I was Nick Spencer and my story got moving left or right when I want to go right. They move me left. I'd get the hell out of there too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
he's got a cushy ass gig at Substack just being a football recruiter.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, because
good for him. He deserved it.
Yeah,
after this.
I mean, he's because at this point, it's just more like, I mean, with what after if this was supposed to be like like, hey, this is Zeb Wells' like second chance to become like head writer kind of thing after what we did Brain Trust. I don't really have any real confidence about the next 6 issues, what the next 6 issues are going to be, even with John Romita Jr. back on board.
I'd say that John Romita Jr. exacerbates the problem. I don't think he's been. I know people are saying like, oh, his art looks good now that he's not at DC. I'd argue it looks about the same as his DC work.
Yeah, that's true.
I have it up.
Look at his leg.
His leg, yeah. So let's take a look about what we're getting in the next few weeks. I am a John Romita Jr. fan. I will.
So am I, but I'm willing to admit when his art sucks. I don't understand. And I'm gonna get a bit personal here. I don't understand the need to run defense on people who have clearly gone past their prime.
I don't think he's past his prime. I still think he's great. I like the art what I'm seeing. However,
what happened to Tombstone?
Yeah, Tombstone looks. Was he beat up? What happened to Tombstone?
No, they're trying to make him look more.
Oh, he shaved his head. Oh
yeah,
yeah, he did. Oh, that's what's going on.
That's what's different. Okay. He shaved his head.
Like look at Peter's. Look at Peter. It looks like that face that Hulk made when he was on Planet Hulk and trying to transform. Like,
he's not my favorite artist.
And I might be being cruel. I might be being cruel here, but it feels like we're going back to the nostalgia well, not even just for the editors, but for the readers. Like, hey guys, we got John Romita Jr. Ignore the fact that our book's writing is absolute shit. Buy the book because John Romita Jr. is back. Let's not try and. Yes, I'm sure Digger's what everybody else wanted to see come back.
Yeah, I mean, I completely forgot Digger was a thing. Yeah, I mean, even with JMS run, yeah.
I consider Amazing Spider-Man as an artistic person myself. I consider ASM what should be a spotlight book. Take your new hot talent and put it on the book. Don't go back to John Romita Jr. or like Chris Bachalo or whoever the hell.
Well,
try someone new.
This was a chance for Patrick Gleason to get on board because clearly this was the thing where you could give the book to him.
He's probably gonna do fill in on Captain America because that's his other favorite character.
I said this on a podcast a couple months ago. I feel Amazing Spider-Man is the flagship title, and what we've been getting for 20 issues or more is anything but A+ work. The absolute best that Marvel puts out. This is not it, kids. I don't think it is.
Daredevil's like the
Daredevil kicks ass. That Devil's Reign thing, even though Spider-Man was in it, acting like Peter Parker, I thought it was great. But anyway, what was I saying? I got comments. Gary wants to know JR's opinion of John Romita Jr.'s art now, but he's not an art guy. But what do you think?
I'm not. I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen enough of what it looks like now to pass judgment on it.
Okay.
I'm gonna see if I can find Avengers art.
I've got a bunch of comments I've been holding until we stop the discussion. We got M Franchise says Nick Lowe needs to go. This run was embarrassing, and I believe he ruined the last. He said Anthony says this is anime filler.
Yep.
Vinkman says, I agree with Neil. Ben Reilly should have stayed dead every time they brought him back. Marvel just screwed him up more and more. Let's see. Bruce says, Marvel management, do they care if books are well done if they're selling well? Do they have the right people in management to produce quality? I don't think so.
Well, here's the thing, Bruce. We don't really know exactly what the numbers are anymore because I don't think Marvel or DC ever use the because they got out of that Diamond distributor scene thanks to the coronavirus. So all we know is here's what they are right now, but we don't know exactly who's buying the book, how many people are buying the book, or anything like that.
We don't know numbers. Yeah. What? Neil, you got something?
I pulled up some John Romita Jr. art so JR can get a look at his 2010 work. That's how far back I'm going, just to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Now
look at Thor. He's having a heart attack midair.
Oh, God.
What's wrong?
I don't mind it.
I get it, Brad.
Subjective.
It's subjective. I do think that they're really only got him back on the book for nostalgia purposes because they're hoping maybe that kind of hides some of their past crime. And to me, like, one, Romita Jr. is not my favorite artist, because sometimes his art can get a little misshapen. But
by the ether.
I agree. To me, I feel like it's almost a marketing ploy.
Klaus Janson has been a consistent thorn on Romita Jr.'s side for years.
I'm not too excited about it.
Hornacek wants to know, what is the worst character assassination of Ben Reilly, this or the clone conspiracy?
That's the question I was kind of wondering about.
I think clone conspiracy. I think clone conspiracy because that was the beginning of it. Even if it wasn't like, you know, Ben. Yep. Well, no, Ben actually went full on villain in that one.
Yeah, he did.
He was robbing graves. He was resurrecting people against their consent, and he was also like holding them against their will with like the carrion pills.
Don't forget, he also tried to basically, it's like, oh, I'm just going to go ahead, screw it. I'm just going to kill the whole world and remake them into remake everybody into clones.
And he dug up Uncle Ben.
And
I mean that's kind of more of a more of a personal thing rather than a like real villain thing. But you know, it's the thought that counts.
Yeah, but even so, I mean, again,
come on, Uncle Ben, you would appreciate it now.
Yeah.
We got Mike Murdoch says Ben Reilly should just buy back Peter's marriage by taking Peter's place in hell, and then we can all be done with this crap and occasionally check in on Ben burning to make us feel better.
I'm technically done with this crap. I'm not buying ASM anymore. I got a friend who's letting me borrow his issues now. I committed to Beyond. I paid for the last issue. That's the last issue that I'm paying for. I'm not buying the Zeb Wells run. I'm not paying $10 for what endless.
Why can't Ben Reilly be the Scarlet Spider?
Because Kane's the Scarlet Spider now. That's the problem that they're facing there. Is because they figured, hey, because that's the thing. They turned Kane into like, oh, let's make him into like the Clint Eastwood of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And
here's the thing. Kane as Scarlet Spider, I think, is honestly not necessarily more dynamic, but I think he has more growing room.
Yeah.
Vinkman says Ben Reilly is like Mayday Parker. If Marvel is just going to keep assassinating them and not treat them with the dignity and respect they deserve, then don't use them. Just leave them alone.
Well, honestly, I think Mayday Parker's actually got a better shake than Ben Reilly has at this point.
They killed her dad, man.
No. See, here's the thing, though. They did do that, and then everything got into be such a big hoopla and uproar about how wrong that was that they literally have they made a point for us to see that Peter is the other for World 982 and is alive. They to literally reset it, and they were like, see we reset everything, it's fine, even though it's not fine. And they've actually made it a little bit worse for somebody to come back and try and tell a continuation of her story. But the thing is that they actually gave a crap about, oh hey, we need to fix this. They don't care about Ben.
Yeah.
Brad, I did you a solid. I'm sharing a screen of like how Spider-Man has felt for the last 6 months and how it'll probably look for the next year.
Endless trash.
Jeez. Landon says thoughts on Kane never being mentioned.
That was the weird thing.
He escaped this shit show. I'm glad for him.
Yeah.
Kane did a better job than we did because man, good job, Kane. You missed the whole damn thing. That JR, that's the one time he's not watching.
Here's the thing. Tyler and I wanted him to be here, but now that we have the benefit of hindsight, I'm sure as hell glad he missed out.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Comment has a good hashtag. Stop making Spidey villains bald.
Bald?
I almost said bad, but also bad works too.
I mean, they're kind of bad by design. That's why they're villains.
Yep.
Right.
Any other thoughts on
people? That's why their villains are bald or something like that.
Yes.
Every time
I said that's why they're bad because they're villains.
Will Smith will smack someone. Anyway, any more thoughts on 93 before I do a couple more things that I got to show you guys?
The thing about just how the fact that this was supposed to be the end goal to let's make Ben Reilly evil again and basically because they literally did not know what to do with him, really kind of just showers the whole thing, make you think really kind of just emphasizes just what a stopgap this whole Beyond thing was. That this was just basically, we're just how much of a it's not just of a filler arc too. This was just I mean, this was just almost like there was no creativity involved in this thing at all. It was
paint by numbers.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, all right, I'm going to take the evens. You do the odds. We're going to sell it every week. Idiots like Douglas and will buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And
we'll have Spider-Man versus Spider-Man. That was what they were trying. That was like the end goals here. That's what they wanted to have at the end of this thing. Like how they got there, they didn't care how they got there, just as long as we got there.
Hornacek, anybody buying the Beyond trade?
Oh yeah, right.
Watch as they try to sell this. Watch as they try to make the omnibus like the hottest story of the 2020s for Spider-Man is finally here. And
we
then
have not heard from JR in a minute, so I'm going to get his opinion on this next picture that I'm going to put up on the screen. I want JR's reaction to this. What did Peter do? Tell me, JR, what did Peter do?
I don't care.
Come on, give me a guess. Give me a guess.
I don't know. I mean, obviously he blew up something, but I don't, I mean, I remember seeing this, and it's like, now everybody hates him, he's on the outs with the Fantastic Four. I guess this is the Trail of Blood or something. I don't know that Jesus was referring to at the end of 93, but I don't know. I mean, and I don't know.
You're not really excited.
He ate Kevin.
No.
Okay, hold on. I got Neil. What did Peter do? Neil.
I'm gonna steal Javi's answer. He ate Kevin. The piece of cheese.
Oh, the cheese from Paul Jenkins. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Let me get Neil or Mike up. Mike. What did Peter do?
He killed somebody.
He killed somebody.
Oh, that's
the only reason I can think why everybody hates him is because he basically ended up whatever that explosion caused and ended up killing someone and everything like this. And that's where like, you went too far. You went too far.
Oh, what was that? What was that time
Ben?
What was that?
That's a mercy killing. It's
wait, that's a mercy. What was that town that was blown up in Civil War? Stanford.
I'm getting vibes of.
He did another one of those. He blew up Nitro or something, and
I'm getting vibes of New Universe. Remember in the Star Brand, they blew up
Pittsburgh
because it was Jim Shooter's hometown.
Yeah. You know what's weird is that I look at that page of like Peter in the middle of a nuclear crater and screaming at the top of his lungs.
Yeah.
And it looks nothing like it has no relation to anything we've seen in the book so far.
Well, because I'm thinking what they're going to happen is what they're going to do is they're going to do like it's all going to be a series of flash forwards. Like, here's how Peter's life is screwed up, and like, how Mary Jane was like, I can't believe this, and Aunt May doesn't want anything to do with him, all this other stuff, and then we're going to see like continual flashbacks, like how things got to this point. And I think the only thing I can think of right now is that Peter was forced to do something that ended up killing someone, and it caused a lot of collateral damage, as we can see, and that's why he's screaming because oh my gosh, what did I can't.
I've killed 50,000 people.
I got one person left to ask the question. Kelly, what did Peter do?
Passed really bad gas.
Yeah.
That's greater quality. The
Cap, I gotta go to the.
Oh my god! Wow,
he does look. Actually, the way he's looking like that, he does look like he's got a huge stomach cramp.
Yeah.
So
I guess he did eat Kevin.
He went to a really bad hot dog stand.
He's got some kidney stone issues.
That's God! What if the first page of Wells' run is Peter passing a kidney stone?
To the audience watching us, I will pop your comment up on the screen. What did Peter do? Hornacek has a great line. He read the Beyond story.
Yeah.
A lot of people hate him for that. He's a victim just as much as we are.
Yeah.
Anthony has a great line of what did Peter do? He talked about Jada Smith.
Oh, gosh.
Ouch. So, Aaron, we'll pop your comment up on the screen. Just tell me, what did Peter do? All right. Final thoughts. Neil,
I'm glad this is over.
What, the Beyond story or the show? Both.
Okay, here's my three. I'm glad it's over. One, the show. 2, the book, 3, my money going to Amazing Spider-Man. I feel like I'm that one drug dealer that's constantly giving them money, and they're just spending it all on blow or something.
You're just, as Kelly said, you're just like George.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm cutting it off.
He's done with the abuse. He's not taking it anymore.
I'm going to go read books that I care about. I'm going to go read Daredevil. I'm going to go read something else.
Yeah. Lord knows you're not going to go read.
I can buy 2 other titles. I can buy.
Gosh, I heard.
I'm not reading Kate's. I'm not touching that crap with a 10-foot pole.
Spider-Man's over there in that book too.
I'm gonna go read Silk. I got $7 a month to go spend on other comics.
All right. Mike, final thoughts.
Yeah. So I guess maybe Ben calling himself Chasm now is basically appropriate, because now it just feels like there's a big giant hole in the pit of our soul
where it's just hole sucking us in.
It's the big black hole that was this entire Beyond story. It's like, because man, this was just one of those things where this just goes to show, I mean, in a way, with Nick Spencer leaving, just how much they were not prepared for this, and just how they had to just literally throw something together and just and again, I just find it fascinating that Linklow even actually admitted, we have no idea what to do with this Ben Reilly character. So even though we got all these dozens of other Spider-Man, Ben Reilly doesn't fit in this thing except as a villain. So okay, but
hey Neil, you do math really quick. I've seen it in the past. Can you add up how much this Beyond story costs?
Can we include tax?
Yeah. Sure.
Do you want me to include the Mary Jane and the
there was part of it.
Issues. Yeah. So 19 plus 5 times 4. So wait, 24 times 4. $96.
$96. That's
nearly $100.
Not including tax.
Nearly $100.
More thought went into that math than this storyline. I mean, unbelievable.
I just put in the Chasm. That calculation put more thought into it than anyone put into Beyond.
Unbelievable. Kelly, final thoughts.
Honestly, I am completely broken as a Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
That I'm not looking forward to the new stories, and I'm kind of just glad it's over. And I honestly would rather watch Psycho 2 as a palate cleanser from this than ever go back and reread this story.
Mm-hmm. And Kelly, as a Spider fan coming off of Dan Slott's run, Nick Spencer was such a palate cleanser, like Psycho 2. You said,
no, don't put that on him.
Right?
Have you not watched Psycho 2?
No, I've seen Psycho. I've seen Psycho 2, 3, and 4. I was with Henry Thomas from ET.
Wow.
So I
liked all the Psycho movies, or I liked them.
I did the tax.
I liked the Psycho movies too, but let's be fair here. Psycho 2 isn't.
It's no Psycho 1. Yeah.
So I mean, no, Nick Spencer, I think, had his heart in the right place. He planned a story. Mm-hmm. He cared about seeing it through, and he actually gave a damn about the characters and the history, and wasn't, for lack of better words, pissing all over the previous writers that came before him, like Slott did.
Yeah.
But the thing is
here's
my point was, though, we just came off of Slott. There was hope. There was hope for better Spider-Man stories. And then the bottom fell out with 75. And then we got this. And then the hope diminished even more. So we're at the absolute low point, in my opinion, of when Slott left, of hope of this book being better.
If you want a hot take on this, I think Dan Slott, as bad as some of the stuff he got, at least he put a little bit more thought and for what it was into this book.
He should have done this
Beyond there. I think
he was. I will put it this way: Slott, as misguided and wrong for Spider-Man as he was, did actually care.
Even in his own weird, like, bent way.
It's weird and messed up, but like, he did actually care about the story he was telling. Here, I don't think anybody cared. I don't think I literally think the only person that did was Nick Lowe.
So I've got
Nick Lowe had to get the donuts out. He had to make the donuts. He had to make the trains go, no matter the cost of pissing off longtime Ben Reilly fans and longtime Spider-Man fans. He's just going to throw stuff out and hope we eat the scraps. And this was scraps.
So I've got two things. So one, I did the tax on this book.
Okay.
So you're paying $102.96 if you're doing the minimum tax rate in Texas of sales tax. For all 19 for all 19 issues plus the .bay issues, which didn't count as like in the numbering, plus the Mary Jane and Black Cat one shot, you paid $96 flat, but that doesn't count the sales tax, which the minimum is 7.25% in Texas because we have the lowest sales tax rate in the nation. So I paid $102.96 for this entire storyline.
Yeah. Did you get your money's worth?
Yeah. I mean, I think again, chasm is a very apt metaphor here for that's because
we're throwing money into a chasm, and they took.
I could have bought a new CPU cooler for my computer with the money I spent on this shit.
All right, I left him for last for his final thought. We haven't seen the man, the myth, the Douglas insulting legend in several months. He's stepped out from the Beyond story. He was like Al Pacino in Godfather 3. I just when he thought he was out, I brought him back in for the final issue of the Beyond. So JR, let me hear your final thoughts. You've got it.
I was about to say, this made me think that this is not only the final issue of Beyond. We all have just about talked me out of continuing with Amazing Spider-Man. It is hard to continue with something where obviously the people in charge do not care.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what they care about. You know, what stories do they want to tell? What philosophy do they have? I have no idea. You know, why and why, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, is it worth continuing? Is it worth going on?
George says no. Neil says no. Your question. I was
trying to hang in there till issue 1000 and before I gave it up, but wow.
We lost Kelly. Hopefully she can come back. I meant to do this earlier. What would we give Beyond an overall grade? Neil, what do you think an overall grade of the story? I would say D-.
So as much as I didn't like the story, there were some high highs. The Mary Jane and Black Cat one shot, Pat Gleason written issues, the recovery issue, the Jed McKay recovery issue. And that's actually kind of my biggest disappointment is that McKay and Gleason weren't invited back to write the ongoing once.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, that's
on
big mystery out of those whole
on the weight of averages, this probably averages around a C, but most of my grades go to like being like a D without those like 5 or so really, really strong issues to prop it up.
Yeah. Mike, what would you give it for an overall grade?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, like kind of like what Neil said. I mean, in terms of like the highs on this thing, I think that I am surprised that Gleason did not get the ongoing artist gig after this because he was the best thing about this whole thing. And so I'm probably going to give this about, you know, knowing where this whole thing went, it's probably going to be like a D+. Because again, this was just a big filler arc because, and you can tell it was because they had to like, you know, literally again, going back to just how much of an apt metaphor this chasm is. It's like they literally had to fill the chasm size hole that Nick Spencer left behind. And this was the best they could do. And this was the best they could do at a short notice.
This is what they could do in an hour-long Zoom call. I think Kelly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is. Yeah,
I think Gleason has probably realized how absolutely hellish the Spider-Man editorial office is. He loves Captain America clearly,
right?
And it wouldn't surprise me since they're bringing on like an A-list talent like Carmen Carnero for the new Cap book that Gleason's been invited to go work with them because he clearly loves that character. And if he's gonna be in an office that doesn't require as much Oversight is their most popular character, that'll be the next best place for him.
Yeah. And here's the thing: this is not like the first time we've had issues with Nick Lowe editing this book either. Because
I've had a problem with him for like 8 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
He started mid-slot run, didn't he?
Yeah, because when he was
2013,
actually came on, like when Wacker left.
Right when
after
Wacker
left.
left.
Yeah. And also the fact that this is also not the first time we've had issues with Zeb Wells either, because this is, of course, let's remind folks, Shed was his big magnum opus, and also same with that weird story involving the Mayan god of the snow thing.
Oh, that I gave that one an F. I was offended, as JR says.
It's really weird though, because like after Cebulski came on, it looks like he had a rebound with Ant-Man and Hellions, but then like for whatever reason he got into the Spider office and everything just went straight to shit.
Kelly, welcome back. And what we were giving the overall Beyond a grade. What do you think the overall Beyond is? What would you give it? The whole story.
A C as in see you later.
Hey, that's perfect. Hey, if you want to hear us review more bad things, next Saturday, Kelly and I are going to review this thing.
I guess I might as well.
Oh my gosh,
Neil, you coming in? You want to talk about it?
Sure, I'll talk about the end credits scene. That's all I cared about.
I only went to go see it because I really wanted some gluten-free pizza. And
I went for the.
It was not worth the pizza.
I'm almost tempted to like watch, but I can't. This is one of those movies you have to see with somebody else in order to appreciate the badness.
I couldn't get my wife or daughter to go to this thing. I'm going to go tomorrow at 2 by myself.
I went for the alcohol, but then I realized as I was about to order my drinks, oh wait, I have to drive myself home, so I didn't even have to get that. I had to sit through the entire movie sober, which was a mistake.
But keep in mind, folks, apparently from what I understand, this is an important movie for Sony's Spider-Verse without Spider-Man in it.
No,
apparently.
it's Sump, the Sony universe of Marvel characters.
Yes.
Like a chasm, keeping it all together. All right. We'll be back next Saturday with a review of Morbius. We're discussing doing Spider Satellites too for the Patreon members. I appreciate everybody watching. It's been a long show, but thanks, and we will be back next weekend.